What is going on, everybody? It is episode 477 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sara. Mary is out of town, and Hannah Claire was busy. So you guys get to hang out with me today. I'm here representing Casper Coffee and hanging out with Brett and Wesley.
Hello.
That is you.
That is me. I'm back. Haven't been here for a long time.
It has been a long time, hasn't it? Like, when do you think that was? Was it a movie review?
I don't know, but it's been at least two months. Yeah, maybe longer.
Time flies when you're busy.
It sure does.
It sure does. Guys, we got a bunch of stuff to get into today, as I stuttered there slightly. That's okay. We are going to talk first things first about Matthew Vaughn, who had some very pointed statements to make about superheroes, about Marvel, about DC. I thought it was very interesting. I thought we'd read through his actual quotes rather than summarizing the article, because he makes a lot of points that I think everyone can agree with, but Hollywood itself hasn't been able to figure out how to implement a lot of this stuff. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about Britney Spears, who... She felt like she had to clarify. Somebody basically said like, look, I post nudes because I'm free as a bird. And Sara has been reading her book.
I've been listening to the audiobook, so I couldn't get my hands on an actual copy. I heard it was coming out today. I downloaded Audible just so I could listen, try to get through as much of it as I could so I could talk about it today.
And you used that free download, didn't you?
Oh, yes, I did.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to pay for it.
So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Disney. There's an article from Inside the Magic. Again, whether it's accurate or not, I believe this article is, though Inside the Magic can be dubious at best. But it essentially says that the new movie that they have coming out called Wish is going to forego having any type of prince at all in the film, which is very hard in a lot of ways. I mean, having a fairy tale without the prince, it seems like they've pushed away from any type of audience that they've abandoned boys, essentially, boys and men for Disney. So we're going to talk about that. They've also got a new diversity chief over there. We call them diversity czars here, but we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about this TikToker who went absolutely crazy because she realized she has to work a job, and that just it felt like a great barometer for where society is going. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into a bunch of other stuff. So if you guys are ready, we will just get started. Are you ready, Sara?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
We'll see.
Okay, well then we're just going to go ahead and get started. All right, first things first, I got a couple of announcements today. Number one being that Mission Impossible 8 has been delayed, which I don't think anybody could really blame them. A lot of this stuff has been on hold for 6 months? Over 100 days?
Yep.
Well, okay, 3.5 months.
Yeah.
Right? That sounds
Long
that
time.
sound about right?
90 days, about 3 months. Yeah.
So it says Paramount Pictures has delayed the next Mission Impossible movie by nearly a decade.
A decade?
Man.
That'd be incredible.
We're off to a
That's like
Cruise,
Chinese democracy level.
75-year-old Tom Cruise still doing his own stunts.
He could very well, but by that time the AI
movie's being
technology will have
produced by
taken over.
Axl Rose.
It'll be it's been delayed by an entire year, with the original release date being June 28th, 2024. Its new spot is May 23rd, 2025, because of the size and scale of the film, and also the fact that production had to halt now. So that means that both of the last two Mission Impossible movies have had problems with production, because the first, Dead Reckoning Part 1 was delayed because of COVID, and now Part 2 because of the SAG strike. Maybe they're out to get the Scientologists.
Yeah, that's probably
Could that be what it is?
They've always been struggling in Hollywood.
That's what I think it is. I think that they're out to secretly get the Scientologists, and they want to prevent him from succeeding. But they're also delaying A Quiet Place, the prequel, to summer 2024. Do you have any interest in a Quiet Place prequel?
Not really. No. It's one of those things where it's like Caddyshack or Jarhead. You just shouldn't make sequels to those. Yeah.
Is it more eerie that you don't know where it came from, kind of?
Yeah, well, it's a metaphor. So, why do you want to explain it? You know, it's just it's a slice of life kind of dark metaphor about parenthood, and it's like, what message are you going to tell by digging deeper into very unimportant lore?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that I've kind of become enamored with, is the idea that not everything needs to be explained. I don't need all the details about everything. I feel like that's become popular because of the popularity of Easter eggs in movies, in comic book movies, because there is so much lore within the history of that industry that, yeah, sure, it's great for the people that read the comics, but for the people who don't, it doesn't take away from the experience, but it also doesn't mean that you need to explain everything when it comes up. I don't find that to be particularly necessary.
Especially for a movie.
Yeah. Oh, also, guys, I do have an announcement. There have been modifications to the Crisis Party sound effect. So whenever the Crisis Party happens today, you can scare Wesley. And there is some great stuff added. So I just thought I would hype it up because I think that Ian he's outdone himself in this one in what I've added. And I got that clipped and sent there. So, just a heads up. And remember, guys, would you hit the like button in this video and subscribe to this channel, please, if you have not subscribed here already. And remember to turn the notification bell on so that you can be notified anytime a new episode goes live. What?
I don't know why I was singled out.
Why were you singled out?
That it's gonna scare me, but
because you're
oh, okay.
No, because I have nerves of steel.
Okay. It's because Dane always complains about it because he's right by the speaker.
I haven't heard it either, though, so I'm excited.
Yes. I made the adjustments last night, so we'll see when it comes through. There's new bones on it. Also, remember, guys, all super chats $20 and over. We will interrupt the discussion. We will read them right then and there, and then we will get right back on topic as best as we can. As hard of a time as I have staying focused. So we got that. We got a bunch of other stuff. So all right, guys, there's a new movie coming out. It looks like with Henry Cavill is teaming up with Jake Gyllenhaal and Guy Ritchie, and they're making like an Expendables-esque movie. Which is cool because they've been filming it right now, which means they got like a waiver to be able to work during the strike, which I guess from what I was told, like they gave out a lot of waivers, so a lot of movies have been working anyways. But it says Guy Ritchie directed Henry Cavill in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and directed Cavill and Isaac Gonzalez in the upcoming movie The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. He also directed Jake Gyllenhaal in The Covenant, which I really, really liked. And like I said, I think I've liked all of the most recent Guy Ritchie movies that I've seen. I liked Wrath of Man. I liked The Covenant. I liked The Gentleman. All that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. Also, it goes to what we're going to be talking about later when we're talking about the Disney topic. Is there needs to be stuff made for dudes? Like there needs to be movies.
Well, I mean, they just had him make Aladdin.
Yes, exactly. Perfect.
Gotcha.
By the way, if you're I don't know how old everyone in the chat is, but if you are like a 90s kid, this is an amazing story. Kurt Cobain's daughter marries Tony Hawk's son. Aww. Wedding bells. That's amazing. I wonder if he did a 900 like into the chapel. That would be great.
That.
I love it. I love it. Isn't it good to see like icons of the past have their children raise the next generation of icons?
Yeah, and it makes sense.
I hate that. Actually, I hate that. Yeah.
What would you rather happen instead? She
people
marries like an investment banker and he marries an Instagram model? That's boring.
No. I'd rather like the next. Nothing to do with that. They can marry each other and be happy as much as they want. But I would just love the next generation of icons be people who earned that.
Oh. Well, I'm of two schools of thought
their way
on that.
to the top.
I'm one of those people that we live in a society right now that hates Nepo, that they talk about Nepo babies. I love watching somebody who comes from a successful family member work to create their own legacy. Right, like right now,
and that applies more, in my opinion, to sports than it does to entertainment.
Because it's less subjective,
yes.
Right? Actually, I was just reading this infographic earlier. It was like all of the father-son hitting duos that Nolan Ryan struck out during his career, and it was like 7 different sets of like dads and sons that he
I didn't know
that he had struck out while playing pro ball.
That's wild.
Yeah, right. And I think one of them, it was actually 3. It was like a father and 2 sons. But yeah, so like, but for me, like right now, I'm enjoying because Denzel Washington is my favorite actor.
Yeah.
And watching his son,
I agree,
work and make his own path has been enjoyable to me.
I agree. I think he is really good. Like he
sounds
does
just like his dad.
He does,
unnervingly like his dad.
But he also tried his hand at sports, didn't work out, became an actor. So it wasn't just like. That is a good example, whereas I think a bad example is like Will Smith's kids. Like, no charisma.
Are they even trying though? Like, I feel like they're not even trying.
After Earth, like they gave it a shot.
How long ago was that after? Like a decade
2014,
ago now?
I believe.
So close to a decade now.
Willow Smith can sing, and she learned to play guitar, I believe. So there's a little effort there.
Yeah, but like they're like effortlessly famous,
right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible to create your own legacy when you are related to anyone super wealthy or super famous, but I appreciate people who do put time into their talents in spite of the fact that they don't have to.
Wholly disagree. Robert Downey Jr. did it.
Think about the Sheens. the Sheens. Think about Nicolas Cage. Sophia Coppola
changed his last name to.
Well, that's what I loved. Now they want to keep the last name because I think nowadays there's less of a within the industry. There's less stigma on them to like back in the day. It would have been considered a virtue to want to make it on your own and not change and change your name because you want to earn. You want to know that you earned getting where you were. Right.
Jason
It might be a little naive
as
still.
well.
Who's his?
Jason Schwartzman. His mom is Adrian from Rocky, who is also
Talia Shire?
Yeah.
Okay. Talia Shire produced one of my favorite movies of all time. She was in the movie Rad, the biking movie, and from what I understand, she hated the movie so much that she kept the rights to it and refused to release it because she hated the movie so much. But it just came out like on streaming like a couple of years ago. But yeah,
she's a Coppola, right?
I believe so. Yeah. So like I enjoy watching an actor who works hard to try and figure out like their own path in life, even if it's in the same industry. Like if anything, it's like harder for them in that. Like sure, they might get the work, but that depends on how much do they value financial security or do they value their career? In a lot of ways, they're going to get the financial security anyways. They come from rich family members, but like, how much do you care about actually setting yourself apart from who your dad was?
So that's why I would argue, like not to harp on it, but that I would argue that it's not harder because even if they fail, they still have that financial like cushion versus becoming an actor. Part of what's difficult about it, why you don't get a lot of support is because you're basically like that starving actor trying to make it.
Harder to succeed.
A foot in the door.
Harder to maybe harder to succeed, maybe easier to succeed in general, but that's not the same thing as reaching the same heights as a family member once reached, right? Like, I think those are different things, and they're always going to take the money for granted, most likely, because it's what they were born into. But that might be less bothersome to them than the inability to set themselves apart from a family member who is so well known. Yeah. So I don't know. But good to them, to Francis Bean Cobain. Yeah. Maybe they can write their own music together and do it for the soundtrack for the next Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Yes. Even though they're not making those anymore. That'd be great. There is an update on the Rock Museum statue. He has issued a statement. He wants them to he wants them to fix the skin color of it and darken the skin color. I don't know how they'd actually do that. I guess just paint it.
A nice patina.
Yeah, something like that, right?
They could use that
varnish.
spray tan tool and just cover them head to toe.
That would be great.
That would be
the
easy
show
way
him
out.
getting like a spray tan. wait, does the knife though? Are those real clothes or are the clothes wax too?
It's a good question.
I want to know. Does anybody in the chat know?
Looks like real clothes.
What?
It looks like real clothes.
Yeah, it looks like he's. But how did they get that on him if it's wax?
It's very crazy.
Probably they're modular, so like the arms probably come off like a mannequin.
Yeah.
Yeah, people in the chat are saying that Sarah, they're saying you're right about the Nepo stuff. Like I'm not saying that it's easier for them to succeed. What I'm saying is that what they might consider success might be harder for them to measure because they're never gonna imagine being Denzel Washington's son and trying to reach and be somebody of that caliber, or even Sophia Coppola. Really,
always in their shadow kind of thing.
Yeah, she's never going to be Francis Ford. She's just not.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But also, his is not the worst wax statue, apparently, of all of these. This goes to Lil Wayne, who has a new one. And yeah, this one's just creepy looking.
Terrifying.
It says, Lil Wayne agrees with the masses. A new wax figure of his likeness did a terrible job capturing his details. An image of him was seen at the Hollywood Wax Museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Does anybody know where that is?
I haven't been, but I'm very aware of it, yeah.
That's the thing?
You're aware of it?
Yeah.
Why Tennessee?
Never heard of it.
Why Tennessee?
I don't know.
That's what I want to know.
Tennessee, never heard of it.
It's like
a tourist trap, probably like Branson, Missouri.
Yeah, some of the other ones, like is that supposed to be Will Smith right there? That's not good either.
I thought that wasn't bad. For a second, I thought it was him.
It's and is that supposed to be Justin Bieber?
Yeah, but I don't know who the one in the middle is supposed to be.
Angelina Jolie?
Can't be.
What? No.
I think that's what it's supposed to be.
I don't know who that's supposed to be, but it's imagine that one day they make a wax statue of you. Are you going to oversee the production of that to make sure that it actually comes out right?
Looking at these, I might have to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're like, look, you can make it, but I need to be there to make sure.
It's more like
that
a bad Keira Knightley.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah, I don't know, but The Rock says he said that they roasted, and he says, "Is this how y'all felt when you lost The Little Mermaid?" And he says that's what the comedian said about it, and it made The Rock laugh. I think The Rock's still trying to distract from all the stuff that happened in Maui with the Maui Relief Fund. Did you guys follow that stuff?
Not really, no.
Only here when I talked about it. I was on the show, so yeah.
It's really funny. Because I've watched so much stuff. Anything right now that's made either by The Rock or about The Rock, by Oprah or about Oprah, has people in the comments who are like, "You're just trying to distract from all the f-ups that happened with the Maui Relief Fund," which makes sense.
It'll take a while for them to live that down.
That's the problem, or that's I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's part of society, is right. Like if you just hold out, eventually people forget for the most part, unless it's something super, super duper egregious. But the average celebrity can outlive just about anything stupid that they say on a regular basis. At least that's what it seemed like to me. Like there's always going to be people in the comments that have something to say about it. But we as a nation especially just seem to have a shorter attention span than we've ever had before.
Absolutely.
So like, that even happens to me, and I do this for work, where I'm like, didn't they say something stupid recently? And then I have to go back and look. I'm like, and then you either type in like backlash or comments, and then something that they said recently. Yeah, something that they said recently is revealed to have been not smart. And that's pretty much par for the course. But that's going to happen for anybody that's making a living where they have to talk on a regular basis. I'm sure someday I'll manage to actually offend someone somehow, even though I'm like the biggest, like, my strongest opinion is that I have no strong opinions on just about anything.
I think offending someone is when you know you've made it.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Like you're relevant enough to be offensive.
I don't think I've offended anyone. I don't think I've ever offended anyone ever. I think I've been perfectly cordial.
You're
all the time.
Quite diplomatic.
all the time, no matter what. So I think Lil Wayne has a reason to complain here. Just saying. All right. In more unbelievable news regarding Hollywood and what's going on in Israel and Palestine, it is crazy that they can't seem to like stay out of it, but I get it. Like a lot of the time, like I don't know what I feel about it, but I do know that they don't know how to just take the no speaking approach. How would you, like, if you were a mainstream celebrity? So what it is, it says Hollywood basically like issues a statement to Hamas to release all hostages, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to ask, but it doesn't matter because people are crazy right now. And no matter what you say, you're going to piss off someone. Like Hollywood is an industry that's insulated. You don't need to issue a statement. That's what's like, that's the difference between that and like a lot of social media influencers now who feel like they have to speak on everything that gets said all the time. If I was a celebrity, I wouldn't have an opinion on any of this stuff.
If they ignored it though, they would get criticized too, right? Like they can't drop their new skincare line right now.
Yeah, but my argument to that is always like, look, it's a lot easier to pull up what somebody said, not something somebody didn't say. So yes, somebody can make a comment about how you didn't speak up on an issue, but that doesn't show up in a search key.
Yeah.
And even if it does, even if it comes up with articles that say so-and-so is
it'll
silent.
come up with Reddit threads.
Like that's not the same thing as coming up with a bunch of boneheaded things that you said on a topic that you're not super educated on. But this says Tiffany Haddish, Bradley Cooper, Justin Timberlake, Chris Rock, and Gwyneth Paltrow are among the big names who signed an open letter to Joe Biden, which calls on Hamas to set all prisoners free. They'll imagine like Hamas is like, oh, well, we weren't going to do that, but now that Tiffany Haddish...
I love Justin
That's my
Timberlake.
perspective. Like, why do you think that
like some terrorist is like, I love the song Suit and Tie. I'm gonna release them. You've changed my mind. Like
they're so well known for loving Western culture.
Yeah, they love everything about all of these people. Like somebody out there's like, look, I want the Goop skincare line. I'm gonna release the hostages because
this is my in with Gwyneth.
Yes, they're looking for their way in. They're looking to get the vagina scented candles exported to their nation, and the only way that's gonna happen is if they release hostages. That's insane.
This is more like a reminder of why they're doing what they're doing. Like, if anything, you know what?
I'm going to hold them as hostages twice as hard now, okay?
until Gwyneth Paltrow refuses to support, I'm not going to release these hostages. It's like, take your name off this letter or we're keeping them forever. It's and if you think that us making these comments is ridiculous, I think that's as ridiculous as celebrities seeming to care about people that I just don't buy that they actually care about most of the time. But maybe I'm cynical. Like I really do believe that we live in such a front-facing world now where it's very hard hard to believe that everybody cares this much all the time about everything. And I wonder how much of it is just like you're going to forget in a week and you're not going to care anymore.
Yep.
And
I was having a conversation about
this issue.
I was having a conversation about this earlier. It's like one of our coworkers was talking about like pathological altruism, and that's what this kind of thing is, but it isn't. It's like pathological narcissistic altruism, to where it's like you're not doing things on behalf of somebody else's good. You're doing things you predict will lead to the benefit of you because of their perception of you, and that is a completely different thing, even if it has the same mechanics that lead you there. But if your goal is to like, I'm gonna look like, it's the Julia Roberts Indonesia commercial, when it's like, I'm gonna look like the best person in the world, is the worst motivation to do anything.
Yep.
I mean,
even if it's a good thing.
Is a lot of it like I kind of take oddly enough I'm kind of giving them crap, but I tend to take the opposite approach. Most of the time I say like their motives don't really matter as long as it actually does good. But this doesn't. I don't buy that this actually does any good. No. Like when a celebrity donates a bunch of money and people are like they're just doing it for the tax break. I'm like so. Like why do I care what their
I do care about
is?
those things, whether it's something like this or something like that, because those things incentivize the further insidious creep of like it's a creep of that type of motivation, and if you go into an institution thinking that way, right, it rots it out over time.
Yeah.
If I agree. These people, I wouldn't get. Look, I did this thing yesterday where Nicolas Cage showed up in Australia. He's like filming a movie in Australia, and he shows up at this like telethon. First of all, I was pumped to know telethons are still a thing. Like I was like, let's freaking go. Like, can we hold a we should have a pop culture crisis telethon.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
How the hell would I do that? Could we do that with Discord? Like I want to do a 24-hour.
YouTube, probably.
Call in.
I want to do like YouTube. A 24-hour telethon to raise money for the show. And but okay, so he shows up at this telethon and he donates $5,000 to Australian kids charities. And the first thing everyone says is, why did he only donate $5,000? I would take the money back if I was him. Yeah. Be like, now you get nothing. Yeah. Like, deal with it, bro. Because it's never enough. Yeah. To them, it's never going to be enough. Any amount you donate, it's like what they said with The Rock. I said, like, look, I thought they were a little bit tone deaf in their delivery, but it's like, to them, there is no actual right answer. You will never give enough money for them. If he has a net worth of $250 million and you give them $249 million, they're like, plenty of people live on $500,000 a year. Why don't you give 29? Why don't you give the other $500,000 of half of your income? That's not how the world actually works. Nobody who actually is successful would think that it does, right? But when you are part of an industry that panders to an audience, you then have to start worrying about what they're going to think about everything you do, all from the bad things you do to the most altruistic. And I don't know if that's a way I would want to live. Like, can you imagine having to live like that? Yeah,
because you could say you could get to the point where you don't care at all. But if you want to stay in the limelight, you want to stay relevant, you do have to. Like, whether people want to admit it or not.
It's one of the things we joked about, why we thought Gwyneth, like why I was like, I'm standing Gwyneth Paltrow because she's completely inaccessible and elitist and doesn't try to be something that she's not. And I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I don't always need a celebrity to be a man of the people. I'm completely fine with them being their own thing. Like if they want to just not donate their money and save their money, as long as they're not, telling me what I have to do or how to live my life, why do I care?
Yeah, I agree.
Like, and even then, I guess I don't really care because I don't have to listen to them. Yeah. But I guess the point would be like they still reach lots of people, right?
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point about like, if they're going to be that, and that not all of them have to be man of the people, but they still, at the end of the day, like they're going to do. It is a like PR thing at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, they understand that it's going to make them, it's going to benefit their career, and this is something that
it's
Dane was
disingenuous, is all I'm saying.
But this is something Dane was bringing up on the show yesterday, where he says like everybody now is like all these celebrities, they're brands. So when they're virtue signaling on social media, sure, maybe they believe what they're saying, maybe they don't, but at the end of the day, it's good for their brand. Their brand benefits from it, so they might actually care about what happens to other people, halfway around the world, but it benefits their brand to be seen caring about what happens to people halfway around the world. And I've just had a bit of an issue with the amount of people I've seen who used to be all about free speech. You don't need to post the black square. It's if you don't care, you don't care. Or even if you do care, but you don't want to share your opinion because you don't think that your opinion is the most important thing in the world. Though a lot of people who used to believe that suddenly don't seem to believe that anymore and think that you have to have an opinion on every little issue that's going on right now. So a celebrity that chooses not to speak on it, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that. I don't need to hear their opinion and all that stuff. And if anything, I kind of appreciate people who think more than one step ahead. They're like, look, everybody is pissed right now. You're going to upset someone. Am I supposed to hold it against them that they're doing what's best for their career? I would be more annoyed by a lazily written, poorly thought out stance that, do you see the Ryan Long thing? I never miss a stance. But like a lazily worded stance on something that they don't really care about. Like, you don't need to have an opinion on all this stuff, but the celebrities have to. They don't know how to live without it.
Not anymore.
And you could make a little bit of an argument here that it's not like this was on social media, that this was directly to the president, so that's not the same thing. I'm sure they all posted it on their pages as well,
or it leaked.
But I also think a lot of it is like they're successful and they have lots of downtime, so they pick up these causes because it both helps them feel better about themselves and deal with the guilt that they feel for being wealthy, because a lot of them have been bred into this industry to feel guilty for the success that they have.
Well, simultaneously striking.
Yes.
For not getting paid enough.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? How do you feel about the strike?
I don't care.
Don't care.
I don't care.
I don't think the average person cares.
No, I don't care.
I don't think the average human being cares.
No, especially I know that it doesn't just apply to rich actors. It applies to all the actors. And so that's obviously, I can shed a tear for that and say, like, it sucks for everybody, even the people that are barely making it by, but that doesn't stop them. Below the line
people are suffering more
than but that doesn't stop them from doing the job that they were probably doing anyway.
Yeah.
So it mostly changes nothing, but for that certain level, I should say. But to your point earlier, the thing that about everybody having to have their opinion, especially celebrities, like, it is like, you should be smart enough to not do that right now. You should be smart enough to know that, like, it's not even what your take is, it is the depth of your take that is going to be scrutinized. Like, if you're like, hey, I just don't want a bigger war, and it's like an explosion is coming at you, like, it will not benefit you. You should be the person who's saying, like, this is not going to benefit my business to come out with
Mikey, there's a $20 super chat here from Mikey. Says, I miss when being apolitical was the best stance. Yeah, well, that was true in a world that didn't have a 24-hour news cycle. And for celebrities, I think it's addictive. Like, there's every opportunity constantly to get yourself press, and they just don't know how to parse out when is a good time and when's a bad time. And yeah, like, to your point, like, yesterday we did a thing where I basically said, like, look, Hollywood is more divided than it's ever been on this issue. And I picked out 5 very specific examples of celebrities who gave the most decently worded, neutral takes that basically said, I don't want anyone of any location to be harmed. And all of them got destroyed.
Yes.
At a certain point, it just makes you ask, why get involved at all?
I just think about them asking Mariah Carey in the 90s these kinds of questions, and like, there's just no way you would expect her to like have any kind of answer to this that would make, like, to even know about the topic, right?
My logic used to be, my statement used to be, everyone today, like, especially if you're a celebrity, they have to pretend as if they're running for president. But I think that's wrong. I think everyone today, if they're a celebrity, has to pretend like they're answering beauty pageant questions. And they're like, I just want everybody to get along. Like, I would rather that, right? Like,
the problem is that, like, before, these things were not at the forefront of our mind all the time. They weren't an industry that way. They were escapism, so you didn't want to hear it. But now, because they are at the forefront of everything, like, we're being jammed in the eyes and ears with celebrity news, they have to have an opinion on it, because if they don't talk about it, they're like, how can you be talking about your movie while there are people in
or
Ukraine,
they lose traction, or they lose traction and they just fall out of the news cycle, which is the death knell for them as well.
It's like the whole any publicity is good publicity. That's unfortunately true. Like, even if it's bad, it's going to propel you to the next story.
Dane says that's not true. Dane believes that there is such a thing as bad publicity.
I think there is as well, but like, it is a mass generalization.
There's a $20 super chat here from Dr. Tran says, I miss when people stayed in their lane. You're an actor, not a politician. But you're not just an actor anymore now. You're also a publicist and a manager. You're a lot of things besides just the like most of the, like, we were talking, was like, you know what I miss more than anything? I want the strike to end so they can start saying stupid things again, so I have stuff to report on selfishly, and they're not wrong. Like, they're kind of right about that. Like, I'm ready for them to come back so that they can, like, look, for instance, gents, ladies, 50 Cent tells Joe Biden to get up from the beach and go and fix things. Like, who would have thought that 50 Cent would be the voice of a voice of reason in the? I guess he made fun of Madonna once, so he's at least right 50%, 50 cents of the time. So yeah, like, but they feel like they have to have an opinion on these types of things. But I've got something to break us free from this type of depressing discussion. I found this thing on Instagram yesterday. I would like everyone to watch this because this made me laugh. And I wanted to make people laugh because I felt like the last thing was a little bit serious. So here we go. This is somebody, he's speaking to Congress, it says.
Council, my name is Chad Kroger.
The city of Culver City.
Our beloved House of Congress is in disarray. The Speaker of the House has been booted and no one seems to care. And now I'm genuinely wondering, sorry, I jumbled my words. And now I am thank you, dude. And now I am genuinely wondering, will the Casa de la Gente ever bounce back? Pessimizers will say that they won't, but I believe that they can, because I think that there's one person that will reunite us all. One person that will bring record numbers to the State of the Union and record sales to copies of the Constitution. That is why I am hereby requesting that Taylor Swift date the next Speaker of the House. T. Swift has doubled ticket, jersey, and ketchup sales for the NFL, all by betting super stud Travis Kelce. It's time we bring the Swiftie effect to our hollowed halls and make the government cool again. Schwing. What up, Council? My name is
Chad Kroger.
He used the Nickelback lead singer's name. Made my day when I saw that. It's kind of the funny version of when Olivia Wilde said, "I wish Taylor Swift would date a climate scientist." That brought more joy to me than just about anything I've read all day today. I just thought I'd share with everyone.
That was great. She needs to date the head of every failing industry.
That'd be great. She could save us all. She could save us all. What would you guys like to see? Would you like to see Cute of the Day or Cringe of the Day?
I'm going to let Wesley decide.
Cringe.
Cringe first? I always like cringe first because then you get to
palate cleanse.
Yeah.
So here we go. This
It's Nintendo this, Nintendo that. But where were you when I was playing Mario Kart Stat? This is how I roll. This is what I do. But they can't see me, but they're not seeing you. I just wrote that.
Apparently that's the CEO of Nintendo.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And this was the best guy we could find.
That was the
serenade him.
best they could find. I like that the guy that he totally humored him too.
It's like, oh, that's beautiful.
See, that's the reason society's falling apart because he didn't tell him he was awful. No. Like if he just told him he was awful,
pathological narcissistic altruism.
He would the kid would either get better or quit. So that way, it's like when people tell me all the time, I'm bad at this job. I work very hard to get better because they tell me I'm bad at it. They're probably doing it in the chat right now. So he says that, this might be the only time this has ever been said in the history of the world. So he says, that poor CEO. It is possible to make somebody feel bad for a CEO, apparently. So, all right. I do have Cute of the Day since we have done that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's palate cleanse, shall we? Ellen sent me this a while ago. I don't know if we ever showed this one, so I told her I would play it again. But this says Cute of the Day. And hashtag PCC pets. If she didn't like it, she would leave. That's what it says. I didn't say that. She said that. The cat seemed completely unbothered.
Yeah.
That was adorable.
Wasn't it adorable?
Yeah.
It was adorable. All right, let's do 2 more here. This is from Amy Castro on Twitter. Says, some cute to offset all the awful. Luna Love Dog is the goodest girl. I think we have the highest per capita number of pets in our chat named Luna. There's so many pets named Luna in our chat. I might have to make like an Avengers style intro of all the Lunas that are there. That is adorable. And then we'll do 1 more here. This is from Frostback Canadian. I'm glad they used my insult. That's my insult for Canadians. They're Frostbacks. Pet Gecko Cass and my buddy Bat that hangs around where I work.
Oh, cute. I love bats.
Do you?
Yeah. They're one of my favorite animals, if not my favorite.
Have you ever seen those pictures where they turn bats like right side up?
And it looks like they're at a gothic headbanging concert. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's my
It's good
favorite.
stuff. Wait, how long have you loved, is that just you've always loved bats?
Yeah, for like the last 10 years, they've been one of my favorite animals because I had a dream about them once. And in the dream, 3 bats slammed into my window. It was like a sleep paralysis dream. And they slammed into my window and then they came in. And at first I was really freaked out. And then they just stood there and hung out. And I think I kind of overcame my fear of bats and actually started to realize how cute they are. And the fact that they use hearing and sonar to hunt is pretty fascinating. So I did a deep dive on that and basically Batman.
You fell in love with bats.
I was going to say, so you're Batman then.
Yeah.
Well, technically I'd make you Batgirl.
Yes.
Okay,
Batgirl.
Cool. All right. All right, let's go ahead and get started then first, ladies and gentlemen. So remember to please hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. Thank you very much for that. We are on our way to 75,000 subscribers, so we're very excited. We're working towards it, so go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. So right now, Marvel, DC, all of these companies seem to be in disarray. Most of the superhero movies that came out this year flopped. And right now, Matthew Vaughn is promoting a movie. He's got a lot of stuff coming out. And he had a lot to say on Marvel, on DC, and on superheroes in general. I want to go through a list of the things he said because he made a lot of interesting points and he condensed it down into just a couple of short paragraphs. But I thought it'd be interesting to look at all of the things he said here. So it says, Kingsman director Matthew Vaughn knows a thing or two about bringing comic books to the big screen. They talk about Kick-Ass and X-Men First Class, both good movies. In a recent interview with Screen Rant, the director shared his thoughts on the current era of comic book movies. He said poor visual effects are negatively impacting superhero movies, while also sharing his belief that Marvel needs to take a less is more approach. He says, quote, I genuinely don't know what is happening with the superhero genre in the sense that I do think maybe we need a little bit of time off from it. He said, maybe someone will make something so great that we will get excited again. Superhero films are films. It's a film that has superheroes in it. I think what happened is that they became superheroes and the film part wasn't that important. Yeah, there is a difference, and I actually do believe this. There's a fundamental difference between the idea of a superhero film and a film that has superheroes or comic book characters in it. Marvel is what I'd call superhero films.
For the most part.
Kick-Ass is a movie with a superhero character or a comic, not even a superhero, but a comic book character in it, right? And I love that movie.
Same.
See, I would say a little bit of both. The Winter Soldier, I think, is a film. That's like an espionage film that has
I'm broad brushing Marvel. That's my favorite. Out of all of the Marvel movies, that's my favorite, is Winter Soldier. So he goes on, he says, when you're making a superhero movie, you sort of have to work harder because you have to make people believe it, he said. That's why X-Men First Class was pretty grounded. We said it in the Cuban Missile Crisis. They had relatable human problems and it wasn't relying on CG. I think CG's effed up everything as well because you feel like you're watching a video game. You're not with the characters apart from the Guardians. Yes, and that's something we've harped on regularly. You did not like the creator. Fair enough, right? You didn't like the creator? Wesley?
No, I did not.
Yes,
I was still reading.
But and it's not a comic book movie, but the point is, it was the CGI was so well done.
Yeah.
You at least felt like you were there with the characters.
Yeah. It wasn't, the approach was completely different. Whereas something like Marvel, they design the environment of the shot first and then try to figure out how to put the characters in it. Whereas this was an approach of stay with the characters and then figure out what the environment is around them later, which is really hard. Really hard on the back end.
And that's how they end up with all the problems with going overtime. And they've talked about a lot of these visual effects houses have talked about how they get like endless work and they want 6 versions of a scene to see how it looks. And the end outcome, no matter how well done it is there is a disconnect between your eyes and what you're seeing on screen. And if your eyes can't even comprehend what you're seeing on screen as real, how do you expect yourself to then correspondingly connect emotionally with something that doesn't even feel the slightest bit real to you?
It doesn't connect to you emotionally either because it feels visionless. It feels like a committee kind of like saying, oh, you have to get this in here, you have to get this in there. It has to be broad, bigger, wider. And like the thing about the creator is what I took away from it. It's the same thing that makes the films of like Denis Villeneuve feel real is that he is like, how can I do this without doing this money shot style of filmmaking? But it grounds you. Like,
that's
when you look at things.
when I was writing my notes for it, I was like, it felt like one of his movies. I think it's because of the perpetual dusk.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think it's that even though you're looking at the characters, it feels like you're a character in the movie and not omniscient, seeing everything, and that takes the specialty away from it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. You don't feel immersed. You feel like I'm looking at this from above, and it's not compelling. It's not immersive.
It's something you could get away with back in the day when people watched The Matrix. It was new, right? Or even like a better example is I love V for Vendetta, right? I love V for Vendetta, even though like some of the like the scene of him as the hospital burns down is very clearly fake, but that's one shot. That's a very quick shot in a movie that's almost entirely practical.
I would also counter that with saying like in both of those movies, the shots that they're doing that are a piece of art, whereas Marvel it's just stuff, and it's like constant stuff. Like Shang-Chi, man, like that ending is just CG
vomit
mush.
Same
like
with
coming at you.
Ant-Man Part 3, I think is the one I saw in theaters. Don't recommend it.
I'm out on Marvel.
And I'm the same way, right? So, but he also makes the point of saying like less is more here, which is important, I think, because of the oversaturation of stuff in the market. Like at a certain point, it's the same reason a lot of people didn't start collecting comic books when they were younger, because they're like, look, I don't know where to jump in, and the sheer like volume of stuff to watch. It's like I don't want to have to go through. Like I'm caught up, sure, on most of it, but I didn't watch Ant-Man. I skipped Ant-Man.
Theoretically, there's a way to do what they're trying to do right now, like to have those interconnected shows and such. But the problem is that they're saying like, okay, let's get something out there. Who cares what it is? Whereas rather than having a compelling story, and that's what's happening with their movies too. Is like, well, we got to make that next Captain Marvel movie. But like, well, what are we going to make? And like, I don't know, just make something. And it's not like there's anybody coming with a vision. A film should be somebody's vision saying like, I have this story that I want to communicate to you. They're like, no. We have plot points that have to happen.
That's the point I always made.
90 minutes.
The point I always made is that it doesn't matter. Like every time they'd hire a director, my point was I was like, look, they used to get these like no-name directors who had 1 or 2 credits. Sure, you'd get a Sam Raimi every once in a while. But at the end of the day, as much of Sam Raimi as there is in that movie, there's more Kevin Feige. There will always be more Kevin Feige in that movie, which is why it helped in the beginning when it was new and it was a new concept because it allowed everything to feel as if it existed within the same space. That was great for a while. That's not where we are right now anymore. And I think what people are actually hungry for are things that feel different. Like I don't want to go watch the Robert Pattinson Batman movies and then go watch the next James Gunn thing and have them feel the same. Which is good. They shouldn't feel the same because they're not part of the same universe. One is separate, one is apart, and that's good.
What would be impressive is if like something like Marvel where the movies for the individual characters did feel different from each other, but the team up movies still feel cohesive. Like Thor: The Dark World feels really different than all the other Marvel movies. It looks different, it's paced different, has the same jokes and such, but because of that, it has gone from one of my least favorite to one of my favorite because it has some character.
Is there did you like that one?
I like it now.
Oh, okay. All right. Like I haven't watched it in so long.
It's just it has like it doesn't have that flat
It's how I feel about
Marvel
Hulk.
look.
It's how I feel about but also like if you go back and you watch, like I actually do encourage people to go back and watch the old X-Men movies. Because like one thing you benefit from is there isn't a joke every 5 seconds, and it's great. Like
they're also just good.
I was watching this thing.
Good acting.
I was watching this thing recently where it's just like I thought I had really bad ADHD. It just turns out I wasn't designed to hear jokes every 5 seconds whenever I'm watching a piece of media.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's funny because the things he's pointing out here are not difficult fixes, but the corporate structure of these companies are so massive that turning would be like trying to turn the Titanic.
Yep.
Which you can't do on a whim.
Yeah.
Right? And they talk about that. He talks about how Marvel is going to be taking a less is more approach. But one of the things that they fail if they try to do that is like if that works if every movie you then release ends up being really, really good and resonating with people. But if they don't, then you risk less stuff coming out, less money being made on the stuff that does come out, and then you just fade from cultural relevance even faster.
Yeah. But this is not a unique problem. It's the problem of every single industry of not being about quality, not being about like your own mission.
Yeah.
It's about get as many things that we think people will like in front of your face to make you do the thing we want you to do. And it's this like morons version of psychology where it's like, you know what will make people like the movie? Like if we wrote a good script, like no. Make the lead character something that people empathize with right now, or that we perceive them to be. Make it right now, a young female lead who is smarter than the protagonist of the last movie and makes him look bad. Like people are going to love that. It's like, well,
no, they
don't.
But you can keep trying.
Yeah.
The other thing that's funny is he says he did like the Flash movie, which, Mike, look, I thought that as awful of a person as Ezra Miller is, I don't think he was awful in the movie. But the movie was so all over the place that it's very hard to say that it's good. But I thought he did fine as the lead character.
It's funny, like literally everything he complained about, that's the Flash.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's
the CGI.
No, all of it. Like so many things going on. No, like it feels so like studio heads coming up to him and being like, nope, can't have that. You got to have this because that's in right now. Make sure somebody's doing a TikTok in this movie. You know what I mean? Like that's popular right now. Don't worry about the story. Worry about the trappings of the movie. And that's what the Flash was. And he's like, but I like that one.
They also talk about genres in here. So he talks about, he says, I think there's been so many bad superheroes as well that it's like the Western. You make so many that people get bored of the genre.
Yeah.
And that is true. Like people get like genre fatigue was a thing. Like there was a time when Westerns were really, really in. Oddly enough, we're in the middle of a weirdly popular Western resurgence right now.
Taylor Sheridan stuff.
Like, well, I mean a lot of that stuff too. But like I've been rewatching Deadwood, and it's not like that was 2004, I think, like 2004 to 2006 and stuff like that. So that genre's always existed. If you could, like, what would replace it? Like, if the idea here is like, look, take a break, don't make these movies for a while. Obviously, that will never happen. There's too much money to be made, or at least too much money to try and make.
I was going to say, like, they're losing it hand over fist.
Hold their rights. But like, what genre could replace it right now that you think people would have an interest in? Like, I don't see the Western stuff translating to the big screen the way it has.
You know what I
to the
think
small
would?
screen.
Powerful period pieces.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of a successful one recently?
Like, well, we don't know yet, but non 3.5 hour versions of Killers of the Flower Moon.
The $23 million in its opening weekend is soft, but not for Scorsese in the last decade.
Right, but that 3.5 hours, man, like that discourages me from. That makes me want to wait, and I want to see it in the theater. But if it was a tight 90 minutes, or like a good gritty crime. Like more of that you can like sink your teeth into and be like, this is realistic.
What I was
like
saying
The Departed.
What I want to see more of is a return to like the Tony Scott era $100 million movies that had some scope, but they were about more like Enemy of the State with Will Smith, or Deja Vu, which was essentially a time travel-esque film. I love those movies, and they were unique ideas. I just don't know. All of that type of genre has been replaced by IP. Yeah,
you're right. Or they'll take a script and be like, paste an IP on top of this, and then it's a mess. That's what like Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger's Tide was like a book from the 80s, and they're like, just throw Pirates of the Caribbean on it, and it's like, it's not going to work.
I was even going to mention like Man on Fire, but even Man on Fire from Tony Scott was a remake because the original one came out like a decade before.
I think that like powerfully done period pieces, not these paint by the number ones like we get all the time, like the biopics and stuff.
Napoleon's
like that.
coming out with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, but it looks weird.
Yeah,
He has an American accent. Like it's very strange.
They did Black Cleopatra and
that's
Black.
True. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like when they do these movies, like Killers of the Flower Moon is unique because it feels like an action movie in the way it's made. It doesn't feel like you're like, oh, this is just another like historical not docudrama, but a historical drama. It has energy. It has like a kinetic. If you took that superhero movie like technique and brought it to real stories, I think that would be really successful.
Isn't that kind of what
and
they
people are
tried
so
to do?
attached to the past right now. They like,
yeah,
we really are. Like we're all looking for meaning backwards. So I think those movies like this, there are people that I know who have a connection to the story of Killers of the Flower Moon, and it's really like.
Did you watch Reservation Dogs?
No, I didn't.
Reservation Dogs was good.
Is it? It's Taika Waititi. Right?
He's producer. He's not. He didn't direct it, but he was a producer on it. There's a new Taylor Sheridan series coming out about Bass Reeves.
Okay.
So I'll link you to it later. I don't think we could show the trailer, or the stuff that's out about it with I think it's LaMonica Garrett that's in it. But it's interesting because look, I love Kick-Ass. Did Kick-Ass? Sarah,
Oh yes, I love that movie.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like I would like to see more stuff like that. That's outside of the actual main genre.
Yeah.
I did see that they're working like the Spawn reboot is being done right now through Blumhouse.
You're right. It's being done by the original creator, right?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
McFarlane, right?
Yeah.
So like more of these types of, I would like to see those stories be told outside of those big two studios. Like I don't need Marvel or Warner Brothers producing them for a while.
Yep.
Like I'm fine.
Yeah, I would love to see approaches like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where it's like
Golden Harvest.
No, the original.
No, 1990.
Yeah.
Golden Harvest produced it. Which was like it was like an independent studio at that time.
Yeah, like where they're making a movie.
Yeah.
And not like a product.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, don't go buy our stuff.
And what's crazy about that is that came out after the success of the cartoon. Like, so it was already still IP. I mean, it was technically still IP at that time.
But I'm assuming the big studios didn't see the potential.
That will never happen now because now the big studios will see the potential in it, so they'll fight to get the rights for these properties.
But they try to make it's that law of like you're trying to please everyone, so you will please no one.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Let a creator create, and like that doesn't mean you shouldn't have some oversight on it. See the Star Wars prequels, but like there has to be some way to do that. There has to be, because we did it before. There has to be some way to do this where people can make movies that don't feel like a curated like 3-hour CGI session of making sure you check all the boxes.
I also feel like back when these things first started coming out, it's kind of like with The Matrix, right? Where it felt like you escaped to that world, or you were witnessing a world that I guess The Matrix is a bad example of that, but for a lot of these
it's like an example of the opposite.
Yeah,
I think
like
that's why people like it.
But for a lot of them, it felt like you were escaping to another world that maybe you didn't want to live in, but it didn't feel like it was part of the world you lived in. Now there's so much overlap. You see it on your television, you see it in the stores, you see it on the screens, that it doesn't feel like you're escaping anything. If anything, it feels like you're just being bombarded by it on all sides, which takes away some of the magic.
Yeah.
Of the genre.
That started happening, like I started noticing that with Transformers when they made Barack Obama president, and I was like,
which one did they do that in?
I think Transformers 2.
Oh, that sucks because I love that movie.
Yeah, it like stops and he has this speech in the middle of a battle, and I was like, I don't like just cast like what's
that
his
sucks.
face, you know, like Bruce
Obama?
Greenwood or whatever as the president.
Dennis Haysbert.
Yeah.
Was Obama actually in that movie?
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all. I must have blocked that
I
out
don't
of my
remember
memory.
that at all.
Yeah.
Like, and I love those first
It's
two
archival
Transformers
footage.
movies. Yeah,
But-
so it's actual.
Yeah.
It's from something that actually happened.
I
As I say, like he doesn't deliver like an actual line.
No, he's not
for the
performing.
movie.
It's archival footage, and they're cutting together different speeches to make it sound like he's talking about what's going on right now.
I was telling somebody, I was like, I would have loved to see what Michael Bay could have done if he had tried to make Transformers with as much restraint as he showed making 13 Hours, which is a very good movie. But it's not, and it's got all of the Michael Bay explosions. It's got all of the drone footage. It's got all of the sweeping camera shots. But it's just, it takes the material seriously. Right. And I can imagine that if he had tried to make that movie, because it's like, because it was a real world story, he had to approach it with more tact.
Right.
Like as much as I love most of his movies because they're over the top, I hated Ambulance, which came out in 2021. Right? It's just really, really bad. But I would have loved to see him try to take some of these less serious movies, but approach them with the same level of seriousness that he has been, known to be able to do when he really wanted to.
Right.
So
Like
that's
something he actually has reverence for, which is very rare.
Yeah. Hey, I still love them. They're fine. Somebody says, does Obama get residuals? I don't know. Maybe because they probably had to license it from a network.
Yeah, or it's like C-SPAN and like they're allowed to use it.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Super Chats. Let's go here. So scrolling up to the top here, guys. All right. Do you got him on there?
I do.
From Derp Space 9.
Was Britney's manuscript written in crayon?
Well, you got the audiobook,
No,
so
it's
you know.
carved
That would
with
be
a
great.
knife.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. A pink crayon. You want me to keep going?
Yep.
Okay. So from Andrew Jacobs, #justice for Mocha.
There will be no justice for Mocha today, ladies and gentlemen. You can say it all you want, but the derpy cat is still derpy and shall never be featured on Cute of the Day for as long as I am sitting in this chair. If you want to submit Chloe can be on Cute of the Day. Mocha will not. I'm sorry. I have to have standards. I have to draw the line.
I have no
Somewhere.
idea what's going
Brett
on.
is putting his foot down.
I'm putting my foot down. Let's do one more.
All right, Shane H. Wilder. Mary comes back from Cali with a different hair color and a tan. LOL, JK Sarah. Hi, Brett, and salutations, Wesley of the House of Roth.
Ooh,
Hello.
House of Roth.
Oh, I like that.
Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah. The House of the Roth of Usher?
The House, the Roth of the House of Usher.
Words
How about
too.
that?
I haven't heard that in so long.
All right, let's hold off on the rest. So there was this article where Britney Spears essentially talks about why she kind of rationalizes why she posts these pictures.
a
The
cope.
point of it was that like people are pointing out like, look, you've got kids. Should you be posting nudes? If I were her kids, I would be upset. But as I'm not her kids, I don't really have much of an opinion on it other than it's kind of believable given that she doesn't seem to be in the best place right now. But you went and you're reading her book right now, are you not?
I am. I'm listening to her audiobook.
How's it going?
It's going great. I tried to finish it before we started the show today. I got about halfway through. I used to be a huge Britney fan, and I was like I wasn't part of the free Britney movement, but I believed in it.
Yeah, you were telling me at one point, you're like, look, I actually feel like watching her go through this right now is kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like the way she's acting.
Yeah, it was, and it is to an extent, but with this stuff that she's doing on Instagram, kind of makes it hard to feel bad for her. Not gonna lie.
Okay, so like, what would you rather? I mean, look, it's like her kids, like they're adults now. I think one's 17, one's 18. But like,
Yeah.
like I try
have
to
two
put
teenage boys.
I try to put myself as somebody who's like very much like do whatever you want. Like you're an adult, I don't really care. But I do put myself in her kids' shoes, and I'm like,
Yeah, I have come to the conclusion that she is a bad influence, and she kind of always has been.
Can you explain that?
So thinking back to like Britney in the 90s, she has always been a sex symbol, right? Whether you want to blame her or her parents, that's just kind of what she is. And in the book, it kind of talks about like, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but it talks about how when she was 15 or 16, she recorded Baby One More Time. And it sounds like she had a lot of creative like power within that. She was the one who suggested for the music video to be in schoolgirl outfits, to have cute boys. And it's wild to think that this 16-year-old girl was making these calls, and
It was such a different time
all
in
these
culture,
adults
right?
we're just going with it. When she did the Rolling Stone cover, she was underage, and they had her pose in her underwear holding a Teletubby to show how young she was and her childlikeness.
Do you think part of it is also that like Hollywood, like at that time, just got away with stuff because people just weren't as connected and you didn't have this thing that could look up anything you wanted about some celebrity
Or voice your opinion on it.
or have your opinion heard on it, right?
Yeah, I don't know what was different, and maybe like people assumed that her parents okayed it or that she was of age. Obviously, her parents had to okay it. So that being said, it's like whether you want to blame her parental negligence or her, as the years went on, she kind of kept with that image of being like this sex symbol, essentially, like the Marilyn Monroe of our time.
Yeah.
So looking back to me, I was like 5 years old when Britney Spears became famous. So I remember it through the lens of a 5-year-old. And I remember even at that time, my brothers asking me like, are you still a Britney Spears fan? And I was like, no, I'm not anymore. And they were surprised. They're like, well, why not? And I was like, oh, because she flipped off the paparazzi. So
Such innocent times.
I know, right? This is even before, like, this is when she shaved her head and she flipped off the paps and all that. So even at that time, I think I was young enough to be like, I wasn't old enough to be influenced by her and be like, oh yeah, she's a feminist and this is like this is her right to be free and show her body and yada yada. I was just so young and innocent to where I was like, I don't like that for whatever reason.
What is that from?
That is, if you're wondering what that sound is, ladies and gentlemen, that is in fact Ian imitating Roberto Jr. Rest in peace. And I thought he captured Roberto Jr.'s essence.
When did he do that?
That was on an episode of IRL. And you know, he sounded just like Roberto Jr.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, they brought Roberto Jr. into the sound booth and recorded that and then passed it on to me. So it makes me so happy, and people in the chat they're dying. Well, of course, it was fantastic. Who doesn't want to hear Ian scream? It's not just that. It's him. It's Phil. It's Ian singing basically a barbershop. It's not a quartet, but it's a duet. Yeah. So,
Gabby Hayes said he finally changed it and it's perfect. I agree.
You know, I do my best.
Good job.
I do my best. If you guys want more, we can always get a second Crisis Party. I would love for you guys to hear that again. Keep going now.
I just wanted to say it sounds like Tarzan learning how to do his Tarzan call.
Chant.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Well, when they make the Tarzan origin story, when Disney does the Tarzan origin story, Tarzan Begins, we'll hear that in there.
Yeah. It'll be Ian.
So keep going.
So yeah, basically what I'm kind of looking at her through this whole new lens. I will say also like the book touches on her childhood, and it sounds like she has a lot of generational trauma, like not to use that term, but it is blanketed over and over. What I'm trying to say is I don't think there was ever a time when Britney was okay.
That's very interesting because like what are the societal ramifications of such a famous and influential person being not okay for the culture? And there's endless examples.
I don't just mean
I was
for the
gonna
culture.
say
I
like
mean,
that's kind of part of it.
Yeah.
It's like that's how you get there, like a Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, that's a great point. She described her performances as her escape, like ever since she was a little kid. She grew up in a very chaotic environment, out of control. So I think for her, performing was sort of the only place and time where she felt like she was in control of her own life. Not to like completely psychoanalyze Britney Spears, but that's what I got from her
that
memoir.
makes a lot of sense, right? Like
Right.
if you're somebody like, okay, so this is a personal story and it's not completely relevant in the same way, but when my parents had split up, right? So I had just started skating like the year before, right? When I was like 12. And I don't know if I would still be doing it to this day if they hadn't split up, because when they did, skating became a refuge of sort for me to work on what I wanted to get better at. It allowed me to kind of get away from everything that was going on at home and escape in a fashion that allowed me to exercise both creativity, athleticism, all of these things. And it became, in a lot of ways, a bit of a refuge. It became an escape from. And it's not like this was not like a super bad situation. It was like my mom moved out. It wasn't like a situation where there was bad stuff going on at home. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times, after something like that happens, it can be a little bit jarring to be when the home that you grew up in looks different than it did the year before.
Yes,
I wasn't mistreated or anything. It's just that you go through these types of things when your parents split up. If you're like, obviously not everyone understands it, but if you do, right? So for me, that was skating. And for her, a chaotic home life would have had far more implications given that there was money to be made as well.
Yeah.
Which is scary.
Yeah. Her parents were divorced and remarried. Father was an alcoholic and was not really in the picture when her mom was kind of taking her to the Mickey Mouse Club, like auditions and stuff like that. So it sounds like he kind of didn't come into the picture until she lost it, or whatever you want to call it. She had a break and he had something to gain from it. being the conservatorship.
Yeah, and he's a strong male parental figure would have gone a long way from preventing a lot of this stuff from happening.
Yes. Okay, can I say something? Sometimes I wonder.
Believe it or not, that's literally your job right now.
What, my job?
To say something. Yes.
Oh, okay. So what I was going to say, thank you. I have permission. What I was going to say is, like, is it wrong for me to worry that if I raise my kids in too healthy of an environment, they're just going to be boring and talentless? Is that a thing? Like,
better boring and talentless than chaotic and like, what would you rather
doing
have?
Great things.
Tortured artist addicted to drugs, or boring and talentless working a regular job?
Which one sounds more fun?
The selfish side of you wants them to be boring and talentless because they're going to live to a ripe old age and they're going to be fine. Right?
That is what I want.
Also, being boring and talentless does not mean that you won't marry someone that you love or have kids that you love. I'm sure there's plenty of boring and talentless parents out there that are fantastic.
You know who this makes me think of also is Aaron Carter. Ooh. He kind of had a similar story of like just this incredibly talented child who's thrust into stardom and maybe even didn't want to throughout certain times of their lives, but was forced to stay in it because their family came to rely on them before they were even like 18 years old.
And then that puts an unbelievable burden on them to have to be the breadwinner for this whole family.
Right.
Was that what happened to Michael Jackson? Like the whole
essentially, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was like his dad
yeah.
pushed him into the whole...
Yep.
I'm team boring. Like, that's me.
I am too. I was going to say, like, I don't think that's the selfish side. I think the selfish side would be the one that's like, no, screw your life up so you can have talent. You know, like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like selfishly, the parents, above all else, they want them to be safe. So.
Yeah. Okay, it's a double-edged sword then.
Yes.
I think either too far in either direction is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like,
agreed.
And that's one of the things that society's kind of grappling with right now, right? Obviously, for the average person, that's on a much different scale and with much different societal implications than it is for a celebrity who grows up in this vein. But look at what's happening with the celebrities of today. They all seem like, one thing that I laugh at more than anything is this Hollywood obsession that's bled into the culture of therapy. And every celebrity talks about going to therapy, right? And they don't. They kind of can't imagine a world that there are people that just don't go to therapy, either because they don't need to or they can't afford it.
Right.
But they kind of evangelize and brag about it's one thing to be okay with the fact that we are all imperfect. It's another thing to kind of elevate the idea that we're all damaged so much that we need to go seek help. And we kind of talked about this yesterday because we were talking about women who push therapy on men, not realizing that might not be the best solution for men. Right?
Yeah.
But like, it's a little bit different here because like what Britney Spears went through will not be the same thing that your average member of society will have had to deal with. But that doesn't mean that they won't end up identifying with her, or like a lot of people, you'll see comments on these celebrities when they go through something and they're like, oh my gosh, I literally felt this. And I'm like your life experience is very likely very different than what this person went through.
Right. It's what they're projecting onto her.
It is crazy how different society was back then, though, because we've been talking.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about Ashton Kutcher and what's going on with Danny Masterson, because they brought up like how they used to have these things where when female they would like brag about female celebrities turning 18 and just how different the world was.
Yeah. They used to have like countdowns to when this girl would be turning 18.
Yeah. Do you think part of that is just because? Do you think that's because society's actually grown, or do you think it's because of the internet has connected everyone? Like, I imagine that a lot of those people that would say that stuff probably would still say it if the culture wasn't so vastly different.
Oh, absolutely. They're all thinking it still, I'm sure. Like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and I always like the age of consent is weird because at like the strike of midnight, suddenly someone becomes an adult able to consent to something they couldn't literally yesterday.
Yeah.
So they also talked about in the book like her relationship with Justin Timberlake, of course, which they've been talking about a lot, and so it's a very like serious situation. But it kind of made me think of the Barbie movie because she talks about she had to do an at-home. I don't know if I can say the word, but like she had to terminate her pregnancy.
You can say that word.
With Justin Timberlake. And she remembers being in the bathroom, and to soothe her, he started playing his guitar, which I just thought
What song was he playing? Was it 3 Doors Down? Is that what song?
Closing Time.
Closing Time.
Yeah, Closing Time.
Oh man, I don't know if that's appropriate for the.
He's like, hey, I've been writing this one, and
It's
it
an
was Cry Me a
anti-abortion
River.
song.
yeah. Oof.
It makes him sound, I don't know. Like, I don't know if she's trying to subtly make him sound like a jerk without actually doing it, but it kind of makes him sound terrible.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. She says that he was the one who wanted to do it, not her. She wanted to have the kid. She was like 19 years old at the time. I'm sure this did not help her mental health and exacerbated it, along with all the things she dealt with in her childhood and following that and all her public breakups and divorces and what's going on with her Instagram as well. So.
Did who was Jake Gyllenhaal in the Mickey Mouse Club? Was he one of those ones?
It was Justin Timberlake was in it.
Yes.
Justin Timberlake. I don't
Ryan
think Jake
Gosling?
Gyllenhaal-
Ryan Gosling. He turned out fair. Oh, there you go, Barbie movie.
Yeah.
Didn't even think about that.
Full circle.
He seemed to he seemed to turn out pretty normal.
Yeah, I would say relatively.
Christina
For
Aguilera
an
did not
actor?
turn out necessarily the most. I would have said she turned out normal, but then she did that. Did you see that thing where last year she performed at like an all ages event wearing like a dildo, wearing like a strap? Yeah. That's the culture now.
Yeah.
That's the culture now.
None of them turned out as badly as Britney, though.
No. Well, I'm guessing that none of them had such evil family members out to get them. Did you? Were you Team Britney or Team Christina more? One more than the other?
I was Britney growing up.
You?
Natalie Imbruglia.
Art nerd.
What about you, Brett?
Christina, all the way.
Yeah.
All the way. Yeah.
You asked a question about like, is it selfish to like want your kids to be boring and like talentless or whatever, but happy?
I
think there's the middle ground is like you could teach them to be talented, but not teach them that is the most important thing in the world. Like, I have so many friends. Like, that's not what I mean. I have known so many people.
I am such a well.
No. I have had
have
so
all the
many
friends.
like acquaintances in my life that seem very like normal everyday people that are insanely talented, but they don't shove it in your face.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's one of those things where like people like didn't know that Ben Shapiro was like a world-class violinist. People in your normal life where it's like, I had no idea you did this. I'm like, yeah, my parents made me, or like influenced me to do something with this, but you know, I just wanted a normal life. I don't want the attention for it. And it's not the like skills that make these people marketable. It's that it's being shoved in their head that the most important thing in the world is that people know who you are.
A lot of the
That's
best
unhealthy.
kids that got into skating quit because it was too easy for them. Were literally, the challenge wasn't there, so they would get really, really good really, really fast, and then they get bored.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And that pisses everyone off when somebody just shows up and they're just really, really good really, really fast. It's very annoying. Do you got any secret talents?
Do I have any secret talents? I don't know.
Nobody. That means
They wouldn't be secret if I told you.
Exactly. That's the point.
Brett's secretly really funny, right? We've talked about that before.
Yeah, that's
his
actually
secret
no. What it
hidden
is, guys,
talent.
is I'm secretly really good at parties. That's what it is. I'm secretly really good at parties.
That's why you don't go, because you'd be so good.
I'd be so
blow
secret would be out.
I would be so much better than everyone else at partying that I just figure, why would I want to embarrass them like that? That doesn't.
You'd ruin their night.
That doesn't seem very fair to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like, I don't know. Like for Britney Spears, it's weird because the culture has changed so much and she hasn't. It feels like I don't feel like she's actually changed that much. She's almost like a time capsule.
Yeah.
That is stuck in the mentally stuck in the early 2000s. And it's just it's scary because it shows you just how destructive that industry can be if you don't have a strong support system around you. And unfortunately, most of the people that get into that industry don't have a strong support system, especially when they're young, because the parents are pushing them to do it anyways.
Right.
And it's not like I don't know if I buy anymore that there is such a thing as a parent who doesn't know that it's bad for your kid to be part of that industry. Like, I don't know if I buy that.
Right. She says her mom thought that the Rolling Stones cover was questionable, but as a mother, you're a full-blown adult.
Yeah.
You know that a 16-year-old, especially your daughter, posing half naked is not acceptable or not something you want to encourage, which is actually something, I mean, what's Kim Kardashian's mom? Kris Jenner? She gets a lot of flack for encouraging Kim Kardashian to have posed for Playboy and to have like pushed her tape.
Well, she also marketed the tape,
Yeah, it's gross and it's weird, but at least Kim was over 18. Like, is it sad that that's what
high bar
guess,
here in the West here? We set very high standards for our celebrity families. We're saying, look, yeah, she sold her daughter off. She sold her daughter's sex tape off, but at least she was an adult. I mean, come on. She's basically Mother
So
Teresa.
disgusting. It's
She's like, and she did end up a billionaire, so how bad could it be? Like, that is a scary world we live in now, where like the moral fabric of society has been degraded so far that those are. And the funny, like, I actually defend her because I laugh when people say like these celebrities don't work hard. I imagine she probably works very, very hard. Like most of those, like when you run a brand worth that much money, I don't care how many people you have working for you. Your life is your work for the most part, and you're always like doing deals and stuff like that. So there was a great meme. It says like, this woman doesn't get enough praise for raising 5 girls with absolutely no talent into turning them all into billionaires. I mean, that is very impressive.
Yeah,
that is
Kris Jenner's a
impressive.
genius.
Yeah.
She like married her way to the top and then made her daughters billionaires.
Very good.
Like,
Evil genius.
Evil genius.
But genius
Yeah.
nonetheless.
Well,
I mean,
you know, in
yeah.
Hollywood, those are indistinguishable
Yeah.
concepts. $20 super chat here from DCNC says product placement. Hi, pretty faces. Wait, it says, whoa, you guys are really missing out on Cast Brew coffee type. Insert Cast Brew coffee type. I'm enjoying right now. Hold the mug up and smile. So he's giving you like a blueprint on how to do that.
Okay.
What do they miss? What type would they be missing out on right now?
Pumpkin spice is my favorite. But the Re-Rise with Roberto Jr. just came out also.
Re-Rise.
And that's a limited time. It's a limited edition.
Re-Rise with well, they
Re-Rise.
like that's what this is like. That's literally the Crisis Party sound is literally literally
It
Roberto
is. It's
Jr.
him.
rising from.
Coming back through
Coming back.
Ian. It's beautiful.
He has taken possession of Ian and turned him into his own
Ian.
his own vocal path.
He's had too much Cast Brew coffee.
All right, let's go to super chats.
All right, let's see. Speaking of which, Jacob Edler, I just saved 10% on my Cast Brew coffee order with code PSQ10, so I'm passing it along to you.
Okay, so one of my favorite things is like I always imagine. Do you think there's any celebrities out there, or somebody who's like just to be a complete meme lord, just make up a coupon code you have and just it's not real. So it's like, yes, go buy this. It's like it's like enter code Brett10 for 10% off. And it's not real. And they're like, then they send you messages and they're like, what, the code didn't work? I'm like, not my fault, man. Don't know.
Like maybe you entered it wrong.
Yeah.
Did you try all caps?
Let's do 2 more.
Okay, from Yesh, hashtag justice for Mocha.
There will be no justice for Mocha the Derpy Cat. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I have to draw the line somewhere. It's not going to happen. And if I have to show up into the Discord later and reiterate my point, I will do that.
So actually that was from C2 Gaming. This is from Yesh. Texas Ranger win the pennant. Let's go.
Yes, the Texas Rangers did beat the Astros yesterday. So good for them.
Sports talk.
Sports talk. Yes, exactly. All right, let's hold off on the rest. We'll come back when we're done. We will finish up after that. But let's talk about this article that's essentially saying that the next Disney fairy tale, which is coming out very soon, it's called Wish, will not include like a prince character at all. Do you guys believe that that is necessary for these types of movies?
Go ahead, princess.
That's good.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's part of why girls enjoy these movies is because, I mean, rom-coms are aimed at women. Women are more romantic. We not only like to envision ourselves as the princess, we like a romantic movie as well, you know?
Do you think that it's like an active choice on Disney's part to just eliminate these types of romantic storylines from the movies?
I don't think it has anything to do with romance and trying to eliminate romance itself. I think they're trying to like redefine what romance is and saying like, well, 2 princesses, you know.
But they're not doing that.
Yes, they are.
Not on.
Yes, they are.
They're creeping towards it.
What movies did they do that with?
Did they not do it with the?
If it is, they did it on a Disney Plus one, not on the.
Strange Worlds.
I mean, it's not that I don't. Oh yes, okay, yeah, you're right. Like so, but like with the big ones, they're not going to do that with the ones. They're not going to redefine the ones that have already been. New characters, yes. Old characters, no.
Yep. But is this an old character?
Snow White?
No, the one they're talking about here is a new character.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm saying like.
So
that's
yeah, that one they could, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and like, and they've. This is I'm so over the like first like new female lead. It's like, no, we keep doing it. We keep doing it. We've done it.
My favorite thing is that they go out of their way to make new records They're like the first
It's like
female
LeBron James
character
stats
born
stuff.
in June during the summer solstice with a birth mother's name who starts with A.
Yeah, who
And
cares?
It's the ESPN LeBron James
yes,
stat
exactly.
bag,
Yeah, there's always those types of things.
Like, how many times have they had first gay character?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like so many times. It's like, no,
well,
you
it's
can't. like,
first gay supporting character, then
Yeah.
it's first gay lead character, first pansexual character. That was in Elemental or whatever, or something like that. But to your point, I do think there's an active point to move away from romance in general, because I just don't think they like the idea of promoting those storylines anymore.
Is it that our culture is moving towards like asexuality also?
It feels safer to them, maybe.
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't see it that way. I see like they're trying to just discourage the one thing, the one like the
straight
yeah
heterosexual.
yeah. It's like and it's not the main point. They think that if it's the main driver of the plot, that it undermines their character somehow, and then they push those romance arcs onto the side characters, and it's not that compelling. Sometimes it is, but when you are getting we're getting the same movie from Disney over and over. The Force Awakens is the Dial of Destiny. It is Terminator Dark Fate. It like that's not Disney, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's the same thing every single time.
I think my point is also, like, a lot of times these romance storylines, they fall to the wayside in the movie anyways. They don't carry they promote it heavily in the promotional art and in the run up to the movie, but then it doesn't seem to come up all that much in the actual film.
Yeah, like Star Wars.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. I don't know. Like, I can't think of. Also, it does feel like they're actively moving away from men, from any type of boys demographic, which is funny because they bought Star Wars and Marvel because they wanted to appeal to boys, and then they started making them for women, which makes no sense. There's a $20 super chat here from DerpSpace9. Says, women are such romantics. That's why you often find them falling in love with the ugly guy, with the unpopular guy, or the cashier at Taco Bell.
I have a name.
Got lost in the fantasy there. They're mercenaries, if we're being honest. DerpSpace has got very strong opinions on these things. I do think there's something sad about getting rid of the aspirational content of those types of stories, right? And I also think that, like, look at how Rachel Zegler talked about Snow White, right? It's automatically problematic because cultural views on romantic relationships change so swiftly now. So maybe they just look at it as something to be avoided entirely, even when they address it. What was it? Toy Story had a character like that. A couple, like, it doesn't matter because it doesn't end up being in the movie for more than 5 minutes at a time anyways. In Lightyear, Lightyear had the gay character that nobody remembers because it was only relevant on screen for like 10 seconds.
I wish instead of just creating content like this, we would really start to examine more the underlying reason as to why society is so apathetic towards relationships in general. Yeah. And not even apathetic, almost like resentful and angry towards them.
Why do you think that is? Like, why do you think that there's such a resentfulness to it now?
I think that the family structure has been being broken up for a long time. I think that it's harder now more than ever to meet people, to approach people. Our phones and technology have made it not only harder to approach people, but I think it's a lost art. Like, just talking, calling people, saying hi to someone, making new friends. Yeah. And I think people don't want to admit that because we are so addicted to our phones and to our tablets.
Yeah. That's a scary thing right now, too. Like, I think that what's odd is, like, we're more connected than we've ever been, but we're more lonely than we've ever been, too, in a lot of ways.
And it is because of that. It's because you're no longer looking for the intrinsic value in somebody. You're looking for, just like the movies, you're not looking for that, like full picture of somebody. You're looking at a checklist.
A checklist of
characteristics. And it automatically, like, knocks people off your list if they miss one, even though you may learn to grow and love something about that person.
To appreciate that. That might be the saddest part of all of that, right? It's there's absolutely things about somebody that, like, when you look at it in retrospect, you're like, that would have annoyed me if I didn't learn to, like, love that aspect of them. Like, that same thing might annoy you. Like if it's a general trait that bugs you in somebody doesn't mean it's always going to bug you in somebody else. Right?
Yeah.
True.
And you lose out on the ability to kind of learn to love someone despite them having a characteristic. If anything, it might actually make you appreciate them more. Like, when you're like, wow, I would normally not appreciate that, or that might not be something that would appeal to me.
It just goes to show that those bullet points are not what somebody is.
Yeah.
Like there's more to them than that, and you may be in love with that.
Yeah.
Even though you don't love everything about them.
And I feel like good things have been
On the surface.
demonized also. Like the whole like nice guy is, finishes last trope and how nice guys give people the ick. I only see that on the internet. I personally have not experienced that in my life where because someone is nice to me, I am unattracted to them.
It's like, do you how much do you think that the lack of these types of storylines in movies will affect the culture? Like, do you think that this affected? Because I actually used to push back on the idea that I actually used to think that the idea of like treating your daughter like a princess was actually a bad thing back in the day because it changes their dynamic and their view of themselves. And if you don't feel like as if you're flawed and you feel like you deserve everything all the time, no matter what, that can actually be detrimental. But as far as the stories they're telling about romance, like I don't know if the idea of telling believing in Prince Charming is such a bad thing, at least when you're younger and you're learning to grapple with new concepts.
I think there has to be a balance.
Yeah.
I think
it also requires parents to be more involved in their lives and not just throw you in front of a computer, a tablet, or a TV screen.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is so popular now.
Maybe that's what we've lost. We've lost the art of being able to tell these stories and be able to help explain it to the next generation.
It's all about complexity and nuance, like you were talking about with, like, it could be a bad thing to treat your daughter like a princess, but it's not a bad thing necessarily to treat her like your princess, and while reinforcing that there are other people in the world.
Yeah.
Like, like let them, they are special to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like the next door neighbor's daughter is special to them. You can give that context. Like that is not impossible. It happens all the time. But people are like, you may have to do another thing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
parenting's already hard. It's like, yeah, no, you should teach them that other people exist.
I also think a lot of this has to do with more precise corporate marketing. Now, what I mean by that is like, look, it used to feel like Disney would market their movies to kids in general, but as they've kind of mastered metrics and figuring out who their target audience is, they've kind of condensed it down to they're always looking for this phantom new audience that never comes in.
Yep.
While ignoring the fact that the average parent would be happy to put their kids in front of a Disney movie if the movie wasn't completely awful. Because I think we get caught up in the idea that thinking that this culture war that everybody's talking about, which I reject the idea that I'm fighting a culture war. However, people say it's too dorky to say sometimes. But the point is like, look, I just don't buy that the average parent who's just trying to get through their work day is thinking about that when they plop their kid in. Like if they're not watching Disney, it's because the movies don't appeal to them.
No.
It's not because they have some huge issue with Disney. A lot of people do. I'm not saying that they don't. I'm saying that the average parent isn't thinking about this in the same terms.
Yeah, and you're always going to find a problem with something. I would rather my problem be that my daughter's expectations of a man might be too high rather than having no expectations at all, or it going into this weird, like, it's a princess story, but there's no prince, and there's just like resentment and bitterness or absence of an idea of what a man is.
And the guys don't get any examples of it now. Like there aren't really strong examples at least in cinema culture of like positive male role models. Not on a large scale. And the female role models are just females playing male characters.
Getting
like
more
when
and more
was the last
extreme.
time you watched a movie with a great mom and dad characters? And if you do those, they're not as plentiful as they used to be. Right?
Yeah. Have you guys watched Utopia?
Yeah.
Like the main character in it, I forget his name, but he's the white guy with blonde hair, and he's just such I don't know what words we can and can't say, but he's not very masculine, right? Like he's
You're talking
very
about which Utopia are you talking about?
Utopia. It's Amazon Prime 2020.
Rainn Wilson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and honestly, any show, you could name any show. Usually one of the main male leads is not masculine. He's not brave. The women in the show are much braver, much smarter, and the guys are
the
always
Lego
just
movie,
babbling
yeah.
idiots.
My other-
hapless male.
Yeah.
The other thing that
hyper competent.
this has been going on in network television for decades, and I'll tell you the examples of how they would do it before. So the things that guys would normally like, the girl likes. So the girl likes the sports. The girl likes like they play pool.
Fixing cars.
They play pool. The girl always wins. They
Mm-hmm.
play cards. The girl always things that used to be considered. Now obviously cards are not necessarily that, but like things where you'd think think they'd be like hobbies for guys are the things that the girl. And back then, a lot of people say that is like social conditioning. I tend to not take such a doomeristic approach to that. I used to think that the average writer was just like, oh, wouldn't it be clever if we turn this idea on its head and suddenly it's the girl who's into sports and not the guy. Now I buy more that it's like actually social conditioning.
Yeah.
But back then I just figured they thought like, look, wouldn't it be novel if the girl liked the stuff that the guys liked? Right? It's just, or video games. That also happens in video games and movies and television too,
Or
right?
if it was one thing, one time she beat him in pool, and that was cool. Not that she's better at him than him in everything.
Guys don't get to win like the novel sports between men and women, like those now, like in movies and television, the woman always has to win because it feels
It's unexpected.
It's unexpected, even though it's not. It's the opposite of unexpected. Now you're like, let me guess. Yes, let me guess. She wins, right? And I don't even remember, like, I don't even remember what show I was watching, but it was like this guy is talking to this female character. He says, a woman will never, what was I watching? He says, a woman will never understand a guy like working to beat his best time home. Like driving, like trying to beat his best time home.
A thing?
And it's a very guy thing, right? And it was like, it was shocking to me because I'm like, I don't remember the last time I saw an example of this on television and movies where the guy just did dude stuff. Where the guy just likes stuff that guys like. Because everything has to be trying to subvert your expectations. Nobody wants that anymore. If you want to subvert expectations now, you have to actually do what people, like you have to actually follow traditional gender rules to subvert expectations in Hollywood.
Well, it's like what Kat Von D did.
Yeah.
Being baptized was like super rebellious. Like that's flipped on its head.
Yeah.
That's the new rebellion.
And I mean, I guess what was it that Paul Joseph Watson would say that conservatives are the new punk rock, which I laughed at that too. But it is kind of almost like religion is becoming the new rebellion amongst the next generation. Like actually going to church and raising a family. Like I do love that it says like be an extremist and it's just a family of 4 on a farm. Like that's how you be an extremist now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I adhere to that.
Like
Or I aspire to.
I would like to see more
been
movies.
foretold.
I would love to see more movies where the guys act like guys and the girls act like girls. Like, it's very hard to mix those now. Like I said, Barbie succeeded because it was a movie for girls.
Yeah.
Right? With pretty clothes.
Yep.
Heels,
and
dresses.
yeah, like all the things
Yeah.
women actually like, not superheroes. Because they don't actually care about that stuff. They can pretend they do.
Yep.
They don't.
Notice how I had nothing to say about the Marvel conversation.
Exactly. But if it had been a Barbie
You're
topic,
right. You're 100% right about the Phantom audience too. Like I love the Rachel Zegler clip. I love it where she's like, "We're not going to do what the old classic did. We're going to do something else." It's like, why do you think it's a classic?
Yeah.
Like, what is your problem? You have
point.
failed for
Great point.
15 years,
well,
and you're going to fail again.
They're constantly looking for this new audience of people, and it's never going to work. It will never work.
Yeah.
Because tried and true methods of storytelling worked for a reason, for a very long time.
You know what that movie would have worked as? If it was made with the same intent as like Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter. If it was like, oh, we're going to make, this is a joke version of Snow White where it's like, she's a spy or something. Like,
were you the one that liked Gretel and Hansel?
Gretel and Hansel, yeah. Like
Yeah. I was like, that is like the most peak Hollywood thing to do, to be like, we're going to name Gretel first because progressive.
Yeah. That wasn't why. That wasn't why. It's because she's the older one and she's the one going through it and trying to protect her little
They
brother.
psyoped you.
No, he's
They've
like
got-
he's like 4
See,
years
he's
old.
already
and-
fallen
I hadn't
for it.
even
No,
heard
it's
of
like
it.
she's like 4 years old, or he's like 4 years old and she's like 17. It's like she's the one that's like being hunted.
Yeah.
All right.
Have to
Let's go to
watch.
Super Chats.
Scary.
All right. Let's see. Where are we at? Oh, did I miss Sheen? Sheen H. Wilder. Brett, I've never offended anyone. I've always been cordial. Also, Brett, Mocha is derpy. LOL.
Yeah. I mean, Mocha's not a person. Mocha's barely a thing. So
Barely a thing.
He's going further and further.
it's a joke. It's
Doubling
a joke.
down.
It's a joke. Chill.
All right.
Take a chill pill.
All right. Skipped one. Derp Space 9. You haven't offended anyone? I find that offensive.
Yeah, I'm the least offensive person on planet Earth. I don't know. Like I one of the things about doing the show is like it's given me a
Got me.
Nice.
the story is like I was making. Look, I didn't feel like putting my headphones on last night, so I was making that before IRL. And I'm like, if you guys don't know, like in this studio, like we're right like above where IRL is, and I'm like, all you hear is oh, and I'm just picturing what Tim is trying to explain to the poor guest downstairs. Like, yeah, there's sounds like that all the time up there. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Could be anything. Who knows? But what I'm saying is like, look, you do this for long enough where like now if somebody was to come at me and say that I said something on this show that was super offensive, I think for the most part I have like a good enough grasp on what I say that I would find is pushing the line where I wouldn't automatically assume they're right. I'd be like, they're probably taking that out of context.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes you say something and you're like, ooh, I straddled the line on that one a little bit right there.
Yeah.
And I very rarely do that. I'm about as inoffensive as it gets.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, Mikey. I miss when being apolitical was the best stance.
It was the best stance for a very long time. Oh, that was the 20. Oh, we read the 229 one. So,
okay.
We're down
My
here
bad.
for
Okay.
Derp Space 9.
Sorry, I got lost for a second. Okay. Derp Space 9. Justice for Kyle Katam. Taken from us too soon.
Kyle Katarn.
I don't know who that is.
Star Wars thing.
Okay.
Two more.
Alrighty.
Dr. Tran and Geeky James 62.
Okay. Dr. Tran. Lol 50 Cent, more like right 50% of the time.
Hey, he made fun. I remember. I think the saddest I ever felt was like he like made fun of Madonna and then apologized for it.
Aw.
I was like, why would you do that? Like we did this story the other
Why
day.
would you make fun of Madonna?
No, I absolutely know why you make fun of Madonna.
How
But we
could
did
you?
this story the other day where Emily Blunt apologized for calling a waitress fat like 11 years ago. And I'm like, why? Like the statute of limitations has passed. You do
What
not
offensive remarks.
You do not.
That's why she waited.
Like you do not need. No, the point would be that if the statute of limitations hadn't passed, then she would have need to say something if this had come up. As far as I'm concerned, calling a waitress fat in 2011 is like, meh. Like
No one cares.
Like nobody cares. I mean, they do though. That's the problem. That's the funniest thing about all this stuff that's going on. Like you'll notice, like anytime something gets posted about Taylor Swift, people are like, what? Nobody cares. I'm like, literally, millions of people care.
And that's the problem.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Like we cover it because like I find it I don't find her all that intriguing, but I find the public's fascination with her intriguing. If anything, I find her to be kind of this statement on people are searching for the safest, for something safe. People are searching for something as close to what we get as Americana now. And that's kind of what she is. She's safe American.
Yeah, yep.
She's a safe American export, and America may not have rock and roll the way it used to, at least not in the mainstream. But it may not have all of the old aspects of Americana, but Taylor Swift is about as close as you get to that now. And take of that what you will.
She's a safe pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Let's do one more.
Okay. Urashima Otaru. Genre fatigue is a myth. It is a bad movie fatigue.
Yeah. There was one from Dr. Tran, and then there was one from Geeky James who said he was just giving him 50 cents worth of advice. That's very good. Urashima is like, do you buy that? Do you buy that it's more that people are just sick of bad movies and not genre fatigue?
I would agree wholeheartedly. I do think that at a certain point you want to cleanse the palate though, and say like, I don't want the same thing.
Yeah.
Just give me something else.
Well, why do you think westerns fell out after a time then? Just because no more good westerns were being made?
Perhaps,
for a
or
period of time?
they all become derivative of each other.
Yeah.
Like you have to have that break so that you can.
Everything has to deconstruct everything else.
I think the genre fatigue falls under the umbrella of the bad movie fatigue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. I got a fun one for you because this was actually kind of shocking when I first watched it. But the more I watched it a second time, it didn't shock me as much when I watched it the second time around. So this TikToker, her name's Brielle. She got really, really emotional. She got her first 9-to-5 job after college. And she started to break down into tears when she realized you just can't do anything when you got a full-time job, apparently. She's not looking for solutions. She's just sad. So it says, woman breaks down into tears after first shift at 9-to-5 job. She says, quote, how do you have the time? Let's watch this video here. I'm going to refresh it and we'll watch it.
Being so dramatic and annoying. But this is my first job, like my first 9-to-5 job after college, and I'm in person, and I'm commuting in the city, and it takes me fucking forever to get there. There's no way I'm gonna be able to afford living in the city right now, so that's off the table. Like, fucking duh! If I was able to walk to work, and it'd be fine, but I'm not. So it literally takes me, like, I leave here, like, I get on the train at 7:30, and I don't get home till, like, 6:15 earliest, and then, like, I don't have time to do anything. I want to shower, eat my dinner, and go to sleep. I don't have time or energy to cook my dinner either. Like, I don't have energy to work out. Like, that's out the window. Like, I'm so upset. Oh my God. Nothing to do with my job at all, but just like the 9-to-5 schedule in general is crazy. Being in the office 9-to-5, like if it was remote, you get off at 5 and you're home and everything's fine. But like, I'm not home. It takes me long to get home, and like people that drive to the office, like you don't get off at 5, and I know it could be worse. I know I could be working longer, but like I literally get off, it's pitch black, like I don't have energy. How do you have friends? Like how do you have time to like meet like a guy? I don't know. Like how do you have time for like dating? Like I don't have time for anything, and I'm like so stressed out. And I'm also getting my period, so that's like,
to be fair, they say that this is why so many people end up meeting their spouses at work, right? Because you never have have time to go anywhere else. But it's just funny because it's an eternal struggle that I think all of us have felt at some point. But it's funny watching like a new generation of people then externalize it to the world. Yeah. Like normally you go home and you have those thoughts internally. You have your own intrusive thoughts about stuff like this. But also, we are in an age now where they grew up in a couple of years where like remote was a thing, and then they took remote working away from them. But look, like this isn't laziness. I don't think it's laziness. No. It's very easy to make the joke that it's because the person's lazy. It's that they don't understand that the world is not going to be an easy thing to figure out. Also, everyone wants to live in the city, right? She wants to live in the city, but you can't afford to live in the city.
Is this being labeled as like she doesn't want to work? Because that's not happening.
They're just shocked that these people that people don't understand that yes, your 9-to-5 job is going to take up a majority of your time, and it is kind of in a way a more wholesome alternative than the person who's like, I just don't want to work. Yeah, she's like, I don't have a problem with my job.
She didn't say. Well, she said a few things that I never thought, but she's saying a lot of things that I have thought several times, especially living and commuting in Chicago for over 10 years. Yeah, I was like, this is awful. Yeah, you know, like this is the worst.
What was the average length of your commute?
I woke up every morning at like 5. It was like an hour and a half commute, even though I was not far at all. But like. It depended, because if I was taking a train or a bus, that majorly changed things, and traffic conditions change day to day. But sometimes, I'd be gone for like 14 to 16 hours a day. Yeah.
So it's also the part that stuck with me the most was the part about not having time to work out. The thing is, if you like something a lot, you'll make time. You have to make time for it. Now, it might not be ideal. It might not be exactly what you want. But like for me, growing up, like would I have loved to have been able to skate every day without a job? Sure. But I had I had a job and I was working, but I also had sponsors and was putting out material for these companies I skate for. That means that there's eventually going to be times where you can't get everything done on the weekend. And I was skating 5 to 6 days a week, despite the fact that I also worked a regular job. Now that meant that I was either skating a lot late at night or I was skating before work. And I hated trying to do anything before work because I worked like 3 to 11 at that time or something like that, right? But if you want to do something, you'll find the time for it. You will make the time for it. It's the same argument people have about, like, she's like, I don't have time to cook my food. I'm like, you can. It's just going to take. Now, that's not.
Okay. To interject on behalf of women have different cycles than men do. So men operate on a 24-hour cycle. Women operate on a 28-day cycle. So although I agree with what you're saying, if you care enough, you can push through it, you can do it, you have the energy to. But I think the wear on mental health can be more on women than men in that way. Not across the board, not always, not all men, not all women. And also, women working 9-to-5s is a new age thing.
In the last, 70, 80 years?
Yeah. So it's very new, like in terms of society.
That's not very long in the grand scheme.
It's and this is what ended up happening with the wage gap, right? It was like they never take the hours into effect, right? Because men just tend to choose to work more hours. But it is funny to watch people kind of come to this realization, because you'd think that college would have done this to them too, because you still have to go through a lot to get through college. But most of the time, college is so expensive now that it's almost futile to work and go to college at the same time, because it's not.
I don't
like
know anybody that does in like the last 15, 20 years.
It's not like
I
it's
knew
gonna
like
pay
one
for it.
person.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you help somebody in this type of situation? Because I like laughing. It's funny.
Yeah.
But like, how do you help some? I think you have to find a way to show someone, like, look, there has to be like creative workaround, and women are great at this. Like, this is what we talked a lot about recent trends, like silent walking. Which is where this woman was making these videos. She's like, I just go walk, like without a phone, without music, and it's just going for a walk, right? But women in the social media age are great at figuring things out and then labeling it trends. Like girl dinner. Girl dinner started because they were looking for a way to like cobble together dinner with whatever was in the fridge.
After working her 9 to 5 and
After
coming home when
working her
it's
9 to
dark,
5, right?
And being really tired.
So what they need to do is she needs to find a social media trend that will help her find a way to, it'll be called like exhaustive exercise, where you work out, but it's when you're tired,
Yeah.
right? Like, we need to start speaking to the next generation in terms of trends and labeled ideas, because if it doesn't have a labeled idea, if they're not shown through social media that it's possible, they won't be able to do it, right?
Yes.
You have to give it a name. You're right.
Yeah, like we'll call it like not poor exercise. It's where you go to work out after doing your job, right?
That will catch on quick.
I love it.
I love it.
Do you think what it is like we just have, with our phones in front of our faces now, we look for ways to externalize what we're experiencing in the world to everybody else, rather than just kind of keeping it in our own heads and thinking it to ourselves? Like you said, you've had plenty of those thoughts before on your own. You just didn't know how to, like, there was just no reason to verbalize it.
Yeah, no. Well, no, you talk about it with your friends and be like, this sucks. But then you move on. And like, I would call that relatable content. And like, if you're like, yeah, I get it. And like, if you're somebody who is growing up now, you're not as exposed to that, like being your reality as you would have been 10, 15, 20 years ago. And like, you would kind of ease into it back then. But everything, I don't know, the entire way everything works now on an economic level is so weird that people coming out of college are not prepared.
No.
Where before it was
designed to setting them up to fail anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's one of those things that I do feel like both sides of the aisle are closer on than they realize. Without like, they tend to just blame different people for it. One side blames billionaires and the other side blames the government and the Fed, not realizing that it's a combination of all of those at the same time, right?
Crossover.
So, but then what somebody will say, like, guys in this situation will say, okay, problem solve. The guys will say, like, okay, you can't do this thing. You want to do this thing. How will you make time to do this thing? This is also why social media is so beneficial so much more beneficial for women on a gendered basis, because women like to socialize and externalize these types of issues. Men, they don't see the same benefit in putting this out there.
And if they do, they're women.
Yeah. It's kind of fascinating to see how different our responses were. You guys had the stereotypical guy response where it was like, just make more time. You like it, just do it. And I'm like, but you don't get it. We're on a 28-day hormonal cycle.
I can't be held responsible for the fact that I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
Right. So, and this leads to burnout probably more for women too. They burn out faster than men, and men burn out later, but tends to be very severe.
Yeah, I would say later, but harder.
But way harder, right?
Yep. And something
all the ice cream in the world won't fix it for men. All of the Ben and Jerry's.
It'll go pretty far, actually. I don't know.
Might for women, you just eat a whole tub of ice cream and you're happy.
Is that what you do?
Me? No, that's not what I do, clearly. No, I'm kidding. I'm just not a big ice cream person, and I'm somewhat lactose intolerant.
I just find this way that, like, social media has allowed people to kind of externalize things that we've always kind of felt are true. Because I've had that, like, everyone understands the idea of, like, it sucks when you get off work and it's dark out. Like, because I'm up here in the studio all day. So, like, it's kind of light out when I come up here, and when I get done with work for the day, I'm like, it's pitch black out in the winter. Yeah. Which kind of sucks.
Yeah. But that happens like 5 o'clock in the winter time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, because we get done with the show at about 5, and then we're doing, like, by the time I'm done with, like, editing and post, it's about 7 o'clock. I go downstairs and, like, ugh.
Yeah. And you have no desire to go out, really.
Yeah.
That's like what I was going to say is that's an interesting point that I always knew but never really thought about is, and we kind of touched on this earlier, how hard it is for people to meet others, like single people of their age. And
she
people
mentioned
get married.
that. She's like dating. How's she supposed to meet a guy?
How are you supposed to meet it when both of you guys are working 40 hours a week?
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's the same schedule. Like, what if your schedules just don't
This
overlap?
is why dating apps have become more prominent, and why they're not even dating apps anymore. They're just hookup apps because nobody has the time to do that stuff. They're just looking for the base level of their needs, and that's it.
And this is how we end up with Snow White with no prince.
With no prince and no way, and there's no positive male role models.
We did it.
And,
We solved it.
And everything is screwed. Yeah. In the next one,
Repeal the 19th Amendment.
In the next one, Snow White will be like on her phone. She's like, I don't have time to Cinderella will be like, I do not have time to get in shape to go to the ball.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a proposal on behalf of all women. If we do not have to work 9 to 5s anymore, you can repeal the 19th.
Let's go!
Is that a deal?
That's a deal.
That's a deal.
It's
All
really
right.
funny. That's one of those things where it's like I have to remember when I re-enter polite society from time to time that you can't make jokes about repealing women's right to vote amongst normies, because I know that all the people that I know that say that statement seriously are women. So, and if I hear it from men, it tends to be joking. I can't really make those jokes.
To be. It would be a good way.
I can't make those jokes around like normies without it getting a side eye, and then I'm like, oh, I'm kidding. I don't actually want to repeal women's rights to vote,
Yeah.
but I do know some women that do.
Yeah. You couldn't go to the grocery store and make that joke to someone without them being like, excuse me?
Well, that's too bad.
But here, you just expect people to know.
yeah,
They
like,
don't
get the
know what they don't know,
context.
though.
Yeah.
Do you think also part of it is like, look, she's not like when you externalize all your struggles on social media, it kind of removes your ability to have these conversations with your friends and actually build deeper friendships because you're doing it on social media where you're doing it to a bunch of strangers.
Well, that's the thing, too. She probably doesn't have time to hang out with her friends.
Oh, it's always excuses with these women. You hear this? She doesn't like, if you were her friend, how would you feel if she was like, oh my God, I want to see you. I love you. You're great, but I'm just so tired.
I'm so busy tonight. And she makes like 10 TikToks complaining.
Well, eating her girl dinner because she doesn't have time to cook. So she has to have her charcuterie board and that's it.
Well, this is why everyone's trying to make it as a TikToker.
But that's the funny thing too. You'll talk to social media people who are like, "Look, you don't understand. There's actual work that goes." I watched this great video the other day of this husband and wife that make these hilarious videos, and it's like his wife is angry, and it's done as like an MMORPG where it's like make her not angry anymore, and every time it goes to the male character, he's like doing the motions of like a character in pause. And the video didn't get made in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That video took days to make, edit, and add graphics to it. But because you're watching it on this and not a big screen TV, you feel like it gets made faster or that it's easier, and it's not. So a lot of work actually goes into all that stuff.
You are preaching to the choir.
Yeah. Know what I'm saying, right?
Wesley gets it.
So is that what you're down for? You want to repeal the 19th, but then just not have to work?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a fair trade.
Yeah. There you go. We'll work on that. We can solve all these relationship issues between men and women right here on this podcast.
That's what I'm here for.
My opinion on this changed as we did the segment because my initial instinct is to laugh at this stuff. It is. And then the more I watched it, I'm like, look, her points aren't awful, but it is funny to hear it externalized. When normally I would just be driving and thinking it sucks that it's dark out.
Yeah. All you can do is laugh at it, really. I mean,
and to me, when I was working before I moved out here, when Tim found me to work out here, I was skating
like a stray cat.
I was essentially when he picked me up off the streets of Instagram, I was skating twice a day, but I was only working 7 hours a day at that time, right? So I would go skate, I'd be done, and then I'd go skate again. Now here, I've only added, I work about 10, 11 hours a day, but that ability to go skate is much it's much harder to get the motivation to go do so. So I understand. I get what she's saying. If I work a full day, but a lot of times for me, it's like my health is at risk. I was injured twice this summer, and that was because I had periods of time where I wasn't skating enough and my body just wasn't in the shape it needed to be in. So
Yeah.
you have to make value judgments on what matters. So, all right,
Agreed.
let's go to Super Chats. We are almost done here.
Cool. All right.
I want a third Crisis Party. That's what I want. I want to hear Ian yell like Roberto Jr. again.
That would be a great way to end the show.
Yes.
From Derp Space 9, it is amusing to watch a split screen, side-by-side comparison of the Transformers films with timestamps. The copy/paste is strong with Mr. Bay.
Yeah, there's a couple of definitely reused shots of Earth.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, entire like sequences are stolen from like the island in that, and they just put Transformers in and they like update the cars digitally. It's so strange.
Considering their budget, that's disappointing.
Doesn't bother me. Love Michael Bay. You'll never hear me say a bad word about him. I'll say a bad word about some of the movies, but I'll never say a bad word. I didn't like the new one, the one that he didn't make. I didn't like it. I didn't like Rise of the Beasts. It was depressing.
From Bookstore Thor, Matthew Vaughn and Russo brothers are moving away from comic book movies and into spy thrillers. Maybe that's the coming trend.
That's the problem. The Russo brothers aren't good at it. They're bad at it.
At the spy thriller
Yes,
thing?
they're
Yeah.
not good. Like, they have this shot that they do. It's in all of the Avengers movies. It's this push in. It's not a dolly because it's technically CGI, and the camera does a 180-degree pan,
Yeah.
and it's infuriating and it's annoying, and that all of their shots are gray and like at medium opacity. It's not. It doesn't look good.
Yep.
Like it made.
I know what you mean.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like it's like when I was watching Citadel, and then when I was watching The Gray Man. Like I was watching The Gray Man, and it was literally like, and it was fine. Like I gave it a passing grade because it was funny.
Gray movie.
Because it was a great movie. It was funny
The
to
Gray
watch.
movie.
Was it Gosling or was it Gillian? It was Gosling in that movie, right?
Yeah.
Right. It was funny to watch him do his best Jim Carrey, to watch Chris Evans do his best Jim Carrey impression
Chris Evans.
in that movie. Yeah. But the movie, I mean, it's in the new one that they didn't make it, but I think they produced it. The one Heart of Stone with Gal Gadot. I actively turned it off because it was so bad. Like Netflix does not know how to do.
That's what I did with Red Notice. Turned it off.
Like if you want to watch, go to Amazon. At least they have The Terminal List and Reacher, which supposedly season 2 will be coming out in December. I don't know whether that's actually
Reacher?
still of Reacher.
Okay.
Sweet.
And by the way, I rewatched the first Jack Reacher last weekend. It's not as bad as I remember it being.
Reacher?
The first Jack Reacher movie.
Oh, movie. Yeah.
Okay, it's really funny how in 2012 there was this period of time where Hollywood's like, we're gonna make Jai Courtney a thing. And they tried so hard to make this guy popular, and he's like anti-charisma unless he's playing a bad guy.
No, he's good at playing like a weirdo.
He plays like kind of a generic bad guy in this movie, so it doesn't really work. But like him as Captain Boomerang was fine.
Yeah,
I had
great.
no problem with him as Captain Boomerang. But yeah, there was like this. It's really funny because I was talking to Dallas, and I was like, why couldn't they have just given Scott Eastwood all those roles? Like they could have just let Scott Eastwood do, maybe not the Captain Boomerang one, but the rest of them, they could have given all of those the Terminator role, all of these roles they could have just given to Scott Eastwood, and then Nepo baby.
Yeah.
Okay, from Texas Tac Talk. Next genre to take over will be post-war apocalypse. Get married, Brett with 1 T. Don't know him.
Post-war apocalypse? Haven't we been doing dystopian crap for like the last 2 decades?
Yeah.
I'm so old.
That's what Avengers Endgame is.
Mad Max.
Like I want to do one where it's just a whole bunch of movies where they avoid the war, and then like
movies with personal stakes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's really funny because yesterday we talked about James Bond, and we talked about like they're like when Pierce Brosnan got hired to play James Bond, who are going to be the bad guys? It's the Cold War's over. Well, it doesn't matter anyways because it's never the government. It's always so it's either a traitor. There was the evil media baron that was in like 1997. Oh, imagine
weapons
that.
manufacturer.
Yeah, a weapon. Yeah. Like there was the refreshing anarchist in The World Is Not Enough. But also then you go to Daniel Craig and there's like an evil NGO leader. That's very real world, right? Like anybody can understand the idea that there's an evil NGO head who works with the CIA. I buy that.
Yep.
Yes.
I buy that.
Yeah. All right, from Disco Jensen. I missed the Crisis Party for a second.
Well, we're about halfway to a third one. We're a little under halfway to a third one. So if you want a third one, we can get a third one. It all depends on you guys.
Yep. All right, Texas Tac Talk. Tarzan is the ultimate test for a race swap.
Yep, they're
Would
never
they
doing
do
that.
it? Oh man.
It would be, I will say this. It would be extremely ballsy of them to do that.
be extremely painful.
But at the same time, it wouldn't. They'd be like, look, we race swap all the characters now. Like, you don't get to pick which ones we race swap.
Do them all.
They're-
Michael Alio. The new Crisis Party reminds me of Doc drinking the wake up juice in Back to the Future 3.
I'm
That's
so glad
great.
people like it. Here's the thing, like you were mentioning earlier how like your Premiere got reset or something, or like the update on Premiere. That's why I stopped doing it for a while. Is like the all my presets got messed with, and then I just stopped doing the new. Plus, I liked the one we had, and it was good. But now people get to listen to Ian yell like a chicken.
It's great. And you made it. That's awesome. From DC and DC?
We read that one.
Okay, cool. From Shane H. Wilder. So is Roberto Jr. a zombie now or a poltergeist?
Get it? A poltergeist?
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
He's a poltergeist. Yeah. He's living on through Ian's voice.
He's a specter of
Yes.
days gone by.
Okay. I'm
DC
excited
and C.
about this one. DC and C. Sarah, Bobera, Banana, Fana, Fofera, Fee, Fi, Momero, Sarah. I tried my
Is it
best.
Fee Fi Fo Mera or Fee Fi Fo Fair? I guess it's like, yeah.
I
Fee
think
Fi
it's
Fo Farah.
Fee, Fi, Fofera, Sarah.
Yeah.
But it's
Sarah.
okay. I haven't heard that in so long. Thank you for taking me back to my childhood. That was wonderful. All right. Alistair does what? Please wish my nephew happy birthday. Happy birthday, Noah. Uncle A loves you and will always whoop you in Madden.
Well, there you go. Happy birthday, Noah.
Welcome to the real world.
Yes, exactly. Like, you wouldn't have survived those Call of Duty lobbies back in
It's
the
my
day.
niece's birthday as well. It was on the 22nd at least.
Awesome.
All right, DC and DC, for sure I can pat, excuse me, my head with one hand and rub my stomach with the other hand. Watch this.
I can.
Oh, he's saying for us to do it?
I'm not, they can't make me do anything. I'm not doing it.
Right. All right, DC and
Plus,
DC.
they were all piling on me yesterday. They were very happy to join in on Hannah Claire and Dane dunking on me. So as far as I'm concerned, they're all complicit.
Yeah, speaking of which, Sarah, you got any single friends for Brett? From Urashima Utah. Men are
What
dupes.
she said that's a no, by the way. That was a no, she said.
Men are
Moving
dupes in commercials because marketing companies did studies that found women don't like jokes at their expense.
Guys can take jokes. That's kind of the way it's programmed into society now, right? Like when I think that's also part of like what they consider power dynamics. Like the lefty, the white leftist who loves to dunk on white people because they actually feel superior, not realizing that makes them the weirdo for like being okay with like white people are white liberals are the only people with out-group bias, meaning that like they would prefer to hang out with people outside of their, that's a study saying that, not me.
Yeah.
But the idea that every time it's like the meme of Daenerys, and it says like every time a white person insults white people on Facebook and everybody's applauding them and they're all looking very, very happy.
job.
That's because that's how they feel, right?
Yeah.
And I have my own version of that where when so recently somebody didn't like my review of something that I watched. I think it was for The Creator, and he said like, oh, you're a little bit too much of a liberal or woke adjacent. And I was like, yes, I am still a liberal. Thank you for reminding me. I take a perverse sense of joy in knowing that if that bothers you, I guess, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I can't control how you feel about that. I don't think that makes me like a droid or anything like that. I think I have my own opinions on this stuff. And if anything, people should want people with different perspectives to have different opinions in these circles.
Yeah, it's almost like I categorized you.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It's like, okay, good job.
Well, maybe I like that category. Did you ever think of that?
All right, from Pat the Plumber. I liked that show Manifest. Very family oriented.
That's the one with Scott Foley. I never got. Okay, so
Is that the airplane one?
Yes.
I've watched part of it. I really like
good?
it. It's good.
I've heard really good things about that show, but whenever I see stuff like that, it makes me think of the 4400, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I loved that, like that first season of that show, and that's another one of those ones that's like on none of the streaming services now.
Is it The Event one of those as well?
Yeah. And there was like an American version of The Event and another like when The Event came out, it was at the same time when they did the American version of V.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder what the best one is.
That was at a time though when they were making shows called The Returned. There was all sorts of these kind of
time slip,
but also what was it? The Whispers and what was it? Wayward Pines. Like there was all sorts of these like quasi supernatural, were kind of M. Night Shyamalan, but were kind of not shows coming out. Like NBC really wanted, like they had this show called Believe. They really, or that might have been ABC. Yeah. They really wanted these shows to work, and they never really caught on. Yeah. Like not in the way like that they thought they would. Yeah.
I liked Awake though.
I never saw it. I know it. It had an iconic cover though. The cover to Awake was the guy looking really, really tired.
Yeah, it was like red and blue.
Yeah.
Like Awake. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, from Derp Space 9, T Swift, a safe American export. Girl boss who has bounced from D to T, never quite sticking the landing. At least it's accurate.
Well, like it is kind of funny how like she has turned, like at a certain point you have to consider that you yourself are the problem, right? Like at a certain point, like that's not trying to be mean. It's just like maybe there's something I could change. Mm-hmm. But
yeah, if you really want to get me started on Taylor Swift, I think she's one of the worst influences on our society.
She's the W of B.
The what?
The W of B.
What's that?
You don't know what that is?
No, I do not.
From the Bible.
Oh, I haven't finished the Bible yet. I'm working on it.
What makes her so awful?
Because she doesn't like overtly own what she is, who she is, and what she's doing. She tries to sneakily act like she is America's sweetheart when the narrative that she's pushing is very anti-family, and she does not encourage women to be introspective. She does not encourage women to be better. She encourages women to hate men, to do what he's saying, go from guy to guy, without ever actually working on yourself and creating a healthy relationship.
Maybe that will be like her finale.
That's one of the many problems I have.
Her finale album will all be songs done as like therapist notes on herself.
That would be beautiful. I mean, yeah, she's what, in her early 30s, mid 30s,
33,
and like just zero originality, if you ask me. All right, let's see. From Latveria 1024, Brielle, welcome to all of human history before 3 years ago. Who's Brielle?
That was the lady who made the TikTok.
Oh, okay.
Like, yes. Welcome to a lot of those people like who get like, imagine getting out of college and your first job is like remote, and then they force you to come into work after that. It's probably got to suck.
All right, Geeky James 62. Thanks for the laugh. I needed it. Oh, Brielle.
Poor Brielle.
How does everyone remember her name and I don't? All right.
Poor Brielle.
Derp Space 9. Women have a 28-day cycle to a 24-hour cycle for men. So we put in 28 laps in the time you do one. We also can't use the term I'm hormonal dodge. We can't use the I'm hormonal dodge.
What can we use? Do we have our own out?
Look.
I'm having a bad. My favorite. No, what guys have is when women give them crap when they get sick. When
the man flu.
The man flu. Mm-hmm. When really it is that they probably get as needlessly sick as women do. They just don't complain about it. But when they get sick, they get really sick. But I like the idea better that it kind of still fits. It fits into the old.
You said men don't get needlessly sick.
Like they don't complain needlessly about like small, like when you just have a cough or when you're just stuffed up.
I thought you were saying like men don't get small colds like women do. Like when they do, they just get really sick. They skip over it. Okay, I see what you're saying. They don't complain about it. Also,
the idea that was it says like no woman who's ever given birth will ever understand the pain of a man with a cold. I love it.
All right. Shane H. Wilder. Only 8 hours a day. If I can find time working over 10 hours a day to pray, work out, cook, write, and meme, then anyone can. Sleeping is another story.
Yeah, and also some people prioritize sleep more than other people do. Mm-hmm. Like, how much do you guys get a night, roughly?
I try to get like 7 to 9.
7 to 9?
6, 7. Yeah.
6, yeah. I'm 4 to 6 for me, and that's not because I'm doing a lot. I'm just really bad at falling asleep.
Brett,
I fall asleep usually 4 in the morning, wake up at 8:30 or 9.
Yeah. We've had this conversation about your sleep.
Yeah, it's hasn't prematurely aged me too much yet, but I'm sure it will eventually, all at once.
Just one day. Yeah. All right, James Orenthal Nguyen, Tennessee. Sarah's the only 10 I see. Hashtag repeal the 19.
There you go.
Thanks.
It's perfect.
All right. Pat the plumber. Hostage party.
We are technically in a hostage party right. Well, technically no. We're in a hostage crisis right now. We have to get another crisis party for it to be a hostage party.
Yes.
I'm just saying, guys.
Depending on how fast I can
There's a
read.
$20 one here from Gordon Shumway. Says, if you think rubbing your belly and patting your head is a challenge, try rotating your right hand clockwise and doing a figure 8 with your right foot. Then rotate your... I can't even finish this sentence.
Read it, yeah.
Then
Try reading
rotate
this
your
sentence.
hand counterclockwise and try to maintain the figure 8. Look, I can't even read instructions when I'm putting furniture together. Like, I can't even read, like, the thing.
I think I can do it. I'm doing it.
She's got it.
Oh,
lady.
that.
it.
Yeah,
That's
not the thing he
easy.
said.
The thing he
Oh, I couldn't
described...
even, was that English?
Yes. Okay, back up. Yes, Gordon Shumway, that would be very, very difficult. We're getting very close to that third crisis party here, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. DCNC. The Bourne Identity put the Brosnan era bonds on notice.
Look, I love that first Bourne.
Me
right?
too.
But
It's so good.
But it's
It's a
visceral,
classic.
and after a while, I get nauseous from watching all of the damn shaky cam. I do. But
I like the first three.
I love it. But here's the thing. I love those, but you know what I love more? The Transporter 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I love the Transporter movies. I even liked the crappy Transporter TV series that only got 12 episodes from Chris Vance.
Who's the main guy in it?
Frank Martin.
Okay.
Oh, the actor?
In Transporter?
It's
Jason Statham, right?
Oh, the guy from Meg 2.
Yes, that's where Jason Statham is from. He's from Meg 2.
That was awesome.
That's like
I don't know how to.
that's like saying it's like saying Morgan Freeman. Oh, the guy from Olympus Has Fallen.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Paul McCartney, that guy from the Kanye Super Bowl.
All right.
That was amazing.
awesome.
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's great. Ryan Sargent. Anti-Times Square should have the rooster rise for New Year's Eve instead of drop.
Ooh.
That would be funny if Tim ever does another one of those Times Square ads to have it be like zombie Roberto Jr.
That would be great. I'd be down for that.
All right, let's see. Lost my spot, sorry. From Grofty, The Last Castle was fun to watch. Props to Wesley. Buck. And Aaron.
Well,
And Aaron, yes.
Yeah.
Which one was it?
The last one was the one with Tony Merkel.
How'd it come out?
Great, Brett.
supposed to-
I have no.
You're supposed to elevate your
5
work
stars,
when
man.
marketing it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No. Like it was
Life-changing.
Tony was a blast to work with, just as he was last time we did it.
Yeah.
It was like a nod to the show Supernatural, since he's got like the paranormal podcast. It was fun both times.
And you're wearing a shirt of his.
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't want to wear the other shirt, and this is the only one that I had down there. So.
You want to give like a quick 1-sentence synopsis of the plot in case people are curious?
Yes. It's a parody of both Supernatural and the movie Smile. However, instead of a demon, the adversary is the current president of the United States, and it's called Sniff.
Great.
The fit nerd in the chat
Great.
says Jason Statham, the guy from Pink Panther.
Okay.
The guy from the Expendables trailer.
I love those first 2 Expendables movies. The last one was so bad. It was so
I've heard.
bad.
I surprisingly disagree with you.
She liked it.
I didn't think it was that bad.
It was
entertaining.
It was the bad CGI. The CGI in the first Expendables is actually surprisingly really, really good.
They had time. It was
Yeah.
before Marvel took up all the
Yeah.
effects booths times or houses.
Yep.
I haven't seen the other Expendables. Maybe that's why.
You should watch the first one.
All right, from Serenko Productions, Taylor Swift equals Antichrist?
No, she's not universally liked. I don't know if there is such a thing in current culture as an doesn't the Antichrist have to be universally liked?
Not universally, no.
It would have to be Keanu
heard.
Reeves. That's the only person I can think of who could be the actual Antichrist. Keanu Reeves, because everybody likes him.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a good point.
And maybe he's secretly John Wick for real.
All right, from Shane H. Wilder, W of B is see what you did. I see what you did there, Wesley.
We are almost to the third crisis party. I am calling on everybody. We got
How far are we?
We are 20 away.
20 away?
20 away.
All right, y'all. I can only read so slow. All right, Gordon Shumway.
We did that. We got two. We got one from J-Spot 51.
Oh, we did that one. Okay, from J-Spot 51. Don't mess with your sleep. I'll mess with you. That's your sleep paralysis.
It'll
demon.
mess with you.
Do you guys
Reaching out to you.
get that? Do you guys get sleep paralysis?
I used to, but I don't anymore. And coming back to that bat story, that was actually the last time I ever had sleep paralysis. Which is also why I love bats.
I have like waking dreams, sort of.
I've also noticed that yesterday people were all too happy to super chat when I was getting dunked on the whole time. So I've noticed that public humiliation seems to be what really gets them going.
We can't be too nice or we don't get the chats. All right, that was the last one, I believe.
And we got one more here from DCNC. It says, Sarah, the chick from PCC number 477. That's you.
That is me, not Cast Brew Coffee Girl.
There is one more here from Derp Space 9. Says episode 445, still the best. More Shane Davis. Yeah, I love Shane Davis. I would like to go back on Ballers soon too. I love their podcast when they do that. So,
sweet.
All right, guys. Before we go, would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed here already? Wesley, my friend, thank you.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Let everyone know where they can find the most recent episode of Cast Castle.
You can find it on timcast.com/cast_castle.
Underscore Castle?
I'm pretty sure.
Double checking on that, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Sarah, thank you. Oh, by the way, thank you so much for helping me today. You're going to be back tomorrow.
Yes, I will be.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Had loads of fun. Wish we could have gotten that last crisis party.
Well, we got two more here. We got one from Derp Space 9. Says, hey now, Brett, I had your back yesterday. Yes, Derp Space 9 was... He was my champion yesterday.
He's a real one.
We got one more. We got one here from 1,000 Foot Deep End. Says, because the new Crisis sound is a masterpiece and Sarah's smile is so lovely. Hashtag hostage crisis.
Thank you. Sarah's smile is also a great Hall & Oates song.
One here from Pat the Plumber says, can I have a heart, Brett?
No, but you could have a Brett heart.
No, I can heart. I just did it right there. I just hearted it right there on the.
What did you heart?
On the screen? I gave him a heart.
That makes it a Brett heart.
Yes, it's a Brett heart. We got a $20 one here from Beanbag Actual. Says, sorry, just woke up for work. Let's take it from the top, please. Yes, we'll gladly just start this whole show right over. Why not?
Anyway, so the Rock's wax mannequin is...
Gordon Shumway says, Sarah, the girl who looks like Taylor if you close your eyes and drink a 6-pack. What?
Like Taylor Silverman?
Taylor... Those don't look anything alike.
No, not at all.
Those are nothing alike. I don't know what you're saying.
I'll take it as a compliment.
It's a compliment.
Taylor is a beautiful girl.
Derp Space 9 says, I'm just inching us towards another party. Thank you. Disco Jensen's gave us $20 without a message. For that, he gets a heart right there.
Wait, I thought you said we're $20 away.
Well, he sent that before we got there.
I see.
Grofty says, I saw the abuse Brett was talking about. The abuse was taking. Yes.
Abuse.
Yes, I was getting much abused yesterday during the show. It was very rude of everyone to treat me with such disrespect. Frankly.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Abuse
means kiss in Farsi. Abuse would be like
I didn't know that.
A kiss.
Sarenko Production says, is He Rise only available in ground form? Also, it still says coming soon on the website.
I thought it was already available, but it should come in both ground and whole bean, as far as I know.
I'm gonna heart all of these last ones here, just because I'm in that kind of a mood right now. How about that? There we go. All right, guys. So, well, now we get to hang out because the new Crisis party is coming. But that means they get a post-credit Crisis party. So, Sarah, let everyone know where they can find you.
All right, you can find me at castbrew.com. You can also follow our X, I almost said Twitter, account at Castbrew Coffee. You can follow us on Instagram at Castbrew_coffee. I go back and forth between if I want to push my socials or not. But if you want to follow me, I am Lady Sells Coffee on X. I don't tweet, but feel free to follow me. Maybe one day I will.
You could get the urge one day.
Yeah, you never know.
All right, guys. Thank you again. They're asking me to close the poll. Guys, I haven't done a poll since
a poll?
Somebody called me Four Eyes once, and being the petty man that I am, we're almost to a 4th Crisis party now, too. You guys showed out. Being the petty individual that I am, I have not put a poll up since somebody called me Four Eyes. Frankly,
wow.
The only thing worse is they shoved me in the locker, right?
Yeah, you don't deserve a poll.
If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. Pop Culture Crisis is here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you would like to listen to the audio version of this podcast, we are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you'd like to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix, at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod, ladies and gentlemen. We got two more here. One from Derp Space 9 says, "Get over yourself, Four Eyes." It's just very mean. It's very mean. Shane H. Wilder says, "We only abuse because we care, Brett." Well, yes, that's. I'm basically an abused spouse in this relationship. And Gordon Shumway says, "Keep the hostage party going." Thank you for that, but I think you may fall a little short here today, guys. We will be back with another show tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Guys, a bunch of people sent super chats at the end there, so I want to say thank you to all of you, because apparently a fourth Crisis Party did happen. This is, in fact, a post-credit scene. Technically, a fourth Crisis Party has to happen, because they only got the third one. $5 from High Voltage 75 says, "Which is more torturous, Brett? Watching, listening to yourself, or enduring what you went through yesterday with HCB and Dane?" Watching and listening to myself is way worse, if you're wondering. Matt Kelly says, "Keep going." Serengo Productions says, "Well, I only see ground, LOL." Disco Jensen says, "It's because we love you. It builds character." Pat the Plumber says, "You're ours now." DCNC says, "Coffee, coffee." Olivia Claire says, "Don't doubt us." Gordon Shumway says, "I have a friend who wears an eye patch with glasses. We call him Three Eyes." Beanbag Actual says, "But wait." He also says, "There's more." Austin Brown says, "No Phil, no fun." Yes says, "Pee pee poo poo doo doo." You're welcome. Derp Space 9 says, "Have a good one, Sara, Wesley, Homelander." DCNC says, 9 to 5 is over. Go out and find a lady, Brett. With that being said, guys, we'll be back tomorrow. See you then. Bye.